Welcome to the ordinary council meeting of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise this meeting is being streamed live to the internet. All those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements, and upon joining these online meetings, you accept the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the 22nd of June 2023 ordinary council meeting, the time being 5:32. I apologise for the 2 minutes delay. Can I ask Councillor Wright to lead us in prayer, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. O God, grant that by the knowledge of thy will, all we may resolve shall work together for good, and we pray through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Can I have Councillor Burns do an acknowledgement of country, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I'd also like to pay respect to the elders past, present and emerging of the Wiradjuri Nation and extend that respect to other Aboriginal people from other nations who are present. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. Next item on the agenda is CCL 23/146, leave of absence. We have all councillors present, including Councillor Mann via audio-visual link. Next item is CCL 23/147, any conflicts of interest in this particular council meeting. I'll start Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to declare CCL 23/52 non-pecuniary less than significant, because last time I declared pecuniary and significant, but this time I changed because of that the DCFM has withdrawn their funding application, so I have no other like a conflict on that. I also declare CCL 23/161 pecuniary and significant, because I live in South Lake, so any development in South Lakes, I'll leave the room. Similar like a CCL 23/163 pecuniary significant, because as I mentioned, I live in South Lake. I'll leave any decision for South Lake Estate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest in agenda item CCL 23/156. That's the alcohol and other drug rehab centre motion. And the nature of this interest is that I'm employed by the Parliament of New South Wales 3 days a week and allocated to the office of Stephen Lawrence, who was extensively involved in lobbying for a Dubbo rehab centre during his previous time on council and since. I will declare that, and I intend to continue to participate in the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Declare conflict of interest, CCL 23/162.
Pecuniary non-significant. The purpose of the conflict would be that I operate a business and own some property in the Blue Ridge Business Park, which is where this DA is subject to.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. I'll also declare an interest in CCL 23/152, and the nature of that interest is I have a tech segment on DCFM. As noted by Councillor Chowdhury, though, that item has been withdrawn, but it's still there in the business papers, so I'll declare that. Councillors, any other conflicts to declare for the meeting? No, thank you. I'll move on. CCL 23/148, public forum, and I've got 3 speakers registered for public forum. Before I start with those 3 speakers, I'll just run over the rules in general. Each speaker has 5 minutes to speak, and I've got a bell here somewhere. Here we go. I've got a bell, and at 4 minutes 30, I'll give a single tap on that bell to let you know you've got 30 seconds left, and then at 5 minutes I'll ring the bell continually, which will just be annoying for you, so you'll stop speaking, because we are restricted by our code of meeting practice to a hard 5 minutes per speaker. I'd ask everyone to make sure that when speaking, you're not making defamatory remarks, you're not insulting anyone, you're bringing a statement of facts and bringing information about what it is you're talking about. And some registered speakers I've got here are speaking about something in particular, which I'll mention, but then after that, there'll be an opportunity. There'll usually be some time left after that, so there's an opportunity for anyone to come forward. And when you come forward, I would just ask you to state your name and what particular item that you wish to speak about. And the other thing I'd remind everyone is that even though there might be a speaker who will adhere to the code of meeting practice, all people in the gallery are expected to adhere to that. So that means not speaking out, not cheering or getting excited in the background, giving the respect to whoever's speaking, whether it be someone in public gallery or someone in the actual council meeting itself. So I've got a timer here. The first speaker I've got registered, and these speakers are in order of as they registered with council. The first speaker I've got is Ms Rebecca Davey, and she's speaking on CCL 23/156. Ms Davey, if you could come forward and you can start speaking, and I'll start your timer. Thank you.
I just press this button here. Oh, it's on. Excellent. Good evening, councillors. I wish to speak to support the motion from Councillor Pam Wells regarding land for the rehab centre. I believe it shows a way forward that will allow council to save West Dubbo from an inappropriate and divisive project and show the community that council is dedicated to ensuring that the rehab facility that is delivered is holistic and sustainable. In 2018, the Working Party and Social Justice Group, which comprised of 6 councillors of the then Dubbo Regional Council, discussed 4 parcels of land that could be considered possibly suitable for a drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre. 3 of those parcels of land were dismissed for a number of reasons. The 4th, a parcel of land on Bungle Gumby Road, was considered ideal for the purpose of a drug and alcohol rehabilitation facility. The Standing Committee then endorsed the views of the Social Justice Group, and this information was then placed into a business case that was passed through Council using a Council resolution in September 2018. There are 3 important things to note at this point. The first is that pages 4 and 15 of the business case, the commitment of Dubbo Regional Council to provide land is specifically mentioned. Council has committed to providing land that has the capacity for the initial 15-bed rehabilitation facility and an 8-bed detox facility, and Dubbo Regional Council has committed to providing a land package to accommodate a residential facility within the LGA. Council, and I quote, endorse that business case along with the report from the manager of the social services attaching the 4 parcels of land. The second is that lot on Bungle Gumby Road is only not specifically mentioned in public resolutions, as at this point in time, the locations were being kept confidential. The third is that the lot on Bungle Gumby was not promised to the state government via council resolution, as the process was not yet at that point. The substantial funding that was being applied for and was subsequently approved was contingent on council offering land for the rehabilitation facility. The idea that council would offer land to the state government for this facility to be built has been well publicised, and the Mayor at the time, Ben Shields, did lead well on this particular issue and communicated very clearly to the entire community as to why council needed to provide land in order to secure funding. In 2019, after the federal government pledged $3 million towards the cost of the rehabilitation centre, Ben Shields stated, "To do our part, council indicated very early that it would provide land, and the experts have indicated that to us that it should be land outside the city area. So we have worked towards that, and council have committed to provide a parcel of land." Other news outlets that have published articles that specifically mention Dubbo Regional Council's pledge to supply a parcel of land include, but are not limited to, SBS, Central West Daily, Border Mail, ABC News, The Daily Liberal, and the local MP Dougal Saunders website. We now fast forward to present day, and it has been stated that the site on Bungle Gumby Road is now no longer a suitable option for the rehab facility, as that area is slated for possible future medium-density residential development. The currently proposed site for the rehabilitation facility is in the middle of a current medium-density residential development and is situated 400 metres from a daycare facility. A site I feel we can all agree is wholly unacceptable and will fail to deliver the health and therapeutic outcomes required. The site at North Bungle Gumby is the preferred site, as its greenfield status will let housing be developed around a rehab facility in a proper manner, and residents who buy those blocks of land will do so knowing full well that a rehabilitation centre is there, an opportunity that is not afforded with the currently proposed site. On the 9th of June, the Mayor Matthew Dickinson said on radio, "Please help council deliver what the community wants. Talk to your colleagues and say we need to change the location." I say to you now, please, as councillors, help the state deliver what the community wants. Pass the motion that Councillor Pam Wells is going to put forward, compile the report, and please set the rehabilitation facility up for success. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Davey. The next speaker registered is Karina McLaughlin, speaking on CCL 23/156 and CCL 23/157. Ms McLaughlin, if you'd like to come forward to the microphone.
We called Mrs Susan Wade and asked if Mr Reginald Parker could speak before me, and she said that she would let you know. Perhaps the message didn't get through.
Yeah, so I just go in order of registration, but if you're both okay with that, that's fine. Mr Reginald Parker, if you'd like to come forward. CCL 23/157 is the topic you want to speak on, and the microphone's yours, and you've got your 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr Mayor, councillors, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Firstly, my name is Reg Parker. I'm President of the Arana Canine Training Club and former Vice President of the Dubbo District Kennel Club. I'm here to speak against the proposed charges to non-profit organisations. In 2013, I was approached by Council Ranger Jodie McGowan to assist then with the Dubbo dog problem. We formed a training squad. We trained Wednesday afternoons at the showground and then moved to Saturday mornings. We educated and socialised approximately 250-300 dogs during this period. The public was required to join the Dubbo District Kennel Club and pay a $5 weekly training fee. In 2015, we were informed by the council rangers that the Dubbo dog problem had improved. In February 2017, I resigned from the Dubbo District Kennel Club due to lack of support. I was approached after resigning to conduct private lessons, but insurance problems there made things impossible. With the assistance of a few friends, we formed the Arana Canine Training Club in June 2017 as a community service and registered with Dogs New South Wales when we had the necessary insurance cover and other benefits. The public had to pay a club joining fee of $15 and $10 per annum renewal, with a weekly fee of $5 training session. All Arana Canine services are voluntary. Nobody receives any remuneration. Some members wanted to go further than the basics. A carrot was then needed at the end, and we applied to Dogs New South Wales to run a 3-day dog obedience trial in 2019. We received 185 entries with a loss to the club of $1,200. Our training fees covered this. Visitors complimented us in respect to the grounds. They said that it's the best grounds that they've ever trained on anywhere in Australia. They said that they would be informing their friends and we could expect larger entries. However, 2020, COVID hit. 2021, we conducted our second 3-day trial. We received 310 entries, which also resulted in a loss of $800. We had also applied for a further trial in October, which was cancelled due to flooding. These trials mean an approximate income to the Dubbo businesses between $150,000 and $200,000 plus per annum. With the proposed council charges of $300 plus per event, it will mean that we would have to cancel all trials. We just cannot afford it. Or we follow the Dubbo and District Kennel Club and move the trials to other towns. This we hope we are not forced to do, and we do not want to do it. All other councils, Bathurst, Orange, Mudgee, Parkes, Wagga, to name a few, do not charge the training clubs any fees because it is a community service provided voluntary to the general public. Council has no preparation in running of the trials except to empty about 3 to 4 garbage bins at the conclusion. Therefore, I urge the Council to waive the fees and allow us to continue the service to the Dubbo community. This, I feel, should apply to all non-profit organisations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Parker. You're under your 4 minutes 30, so you didn't get to hear the bell. So well done. Thank you. Next item now, I've got Karina. So Karina, if you'd like to come forward regarding CCL 23/156 and CCL 23/157. Over to you. Thank you, Ms McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors, for allowing me to speak. I just want to support Mr Reginald Parker. I'm a member of Arana Canine Training. I foster and adopt rescue dogs that have been abused and neglected, and the club supports foster carers like myself. I've taken dogs to training and also used the techniques that I've learnt at training to prepare foster dogs to become better candidates to find forever homes. So I've done that in conjunction with some of the registered rescue organisations, and sometimes I've done it privately, such as someone I knew developed mental health issues, neglected his dog, ended up in hospital for months. I took care of the dog. The owner said he didn't want it back, wanted me to take the dog to the pound. Instead, I trained the dog. I found a new forever home with a couple in Narromine. You know, so it's part of our community service is that we keep dogs out of the pound. Also, if when I'm walking the dogs, I see other dog owners who the dog's dragging them down, or is trying to attack other people walking along the paths or attacking other dogs, I refer them to the club, and many of them have gone and they don't have problems with their dogs, so they have a better relationship, and that probably also means that there are fewer ending up in the pound. So we have training Sunday mornings, and we only use one field, or not even a whole field, and we only charge $5 to members of the public so that it is available for everybody. Now, the reason that we have the 3-day trials, dog obedience trials, those events, is because members who want to train to be experienced handlers and then go on to become trainers have the ability to do that. They need to take their dogs into the trials. And, our Mr. Parker is getting on. Obviously, we need new trainers for when the current trainers are retiring. Now, with our trials, we have to bring judges and stewards from Dogs New South Wales. Now, they are volunteers who come free of charge, but if we don't pay their accommodation meals, then they don't come. And we pay for that out of our $5 training fees on Sunday morning. That's the only money that we have. We never break even on our events, and if we have to pay $305 or whatever the fee is going up to, then we might have to cancel the trial. But we have been told that we can have grounds in Gilgandra Shire for free. And I contacted Narromine Shire, who said that they could host our August and October trials for just a $41 application fee. We would prefer to stay where we are, but they're willing to welcome us. So I'd urge for the revenue policy tonight that there be an amendment to waive grounds fees for charities and not-for-profits who have provided a community service to Dubbo. So the other issue I wanted to speak about was the location of the rehab. So I worked in a mental health hospital / rehab for over 10 years. I suggest that the proposal for the rehab be altered so that detox be done at the hospital for a number of reasons. One is there's greater flexibility on where the rehab can be. The second one is, do we really want ambulances rushing backwards and forwards through residential areas with kids on their bikes and sirens going day and night? Also, they have better medical supervision at the hospital. And also, with the rehab, it's supposed to be a therapeutic environment. Now, if they have to share the facility with people going through detox, it might sound funny, but it's not. People scream day and night because they're in pain. They scream and cause a ruckus because they're hallucinating or having delusions. That there's terrorists under my bed, etc. It would be better if they had a more therapeutic environment where where the detox was actually done at the hospital before they had the rehab. So I'd like to speak more, but my time's running out. If there's a little bit more time later on, I'd like to address a little bit more about the rehab, if I may. Thank you.
Thank you, Karina. Just under your 5 minutes, well done. So they're the 3 registered speakers we have, but our code of meeting practice also allows for anyone to come forward within our allotted time frame. So if there's anyone else in the public forum who would like to come forward, you've seen the process and you've seen the way to undertake that. You'll have 5 minutes to come forward, and if you would like to come forward, just state your name and the item on the agenda, either the agenda number or just the topic that you'd like to speak about. So, Madam, over to you. Just again, start with your name and what you're speaking on.
My name's Marie Kate, and I don't know that there's an agenda for it, but I'd like to speak to the council on the fluoride in the water. So, good evening, councillors and Dubbo residents. I'm speaking to the issue of fluoride in our water supply. It has recently been established that currently there is no fluoride in the water supplies of Dubbo and Wellington. And so this presents these communities, hang on a sec, I'll have to get my glasses on. Sorry. And so this presents these communities with an opportunity to assess and decide whether we actually want fluoride in our water supply based on a reasoned look at the benefits versus the risks. And I do think this decision should be made by the people who live in these communities. In the past, the decision has been made for us by a consensus of public health, with little research into the broader health impact and with little consultation. There is a growing body of evidence that demonstrates an increasing number of health risks associated with fluoride. The communities of Dubbo and Wellington deserve to be made aware of these risks before deciding whether this potentially toxic chemical is added to their drinking water. We know fluoride has been added to drinking water in many countries to combat dental decay. The sole reason for fluoridating water back in the 1940s, which is the research paper I'm going to submit to you, since then many of the conditions that contributed to dental decay have improved. The studies suggest that fluoridation of water to prevent dental decay is no longer necessary. Self-administered topical fluoride in toothpaste, mouthwashes, etc. enables individuals who wish to use fluoride to do so. However, there are growing numbers of people who understand the potential toxicity of fluoride and choose to abstain from using water that contains it. Many people go to great lengths to avoid tap water. We buy pure water and use filters to remove fluoride. Is it fair that ratepayers pay for water that they do not want to use? And given that fluoride is readily available in toothpaste, etc., is fluoride in our water something that ratepayers need to foot the bill for? I would like to point out some of the risks associated with fluoride consumption that many may not be aware of. I will provide the Council with a copy of the list of my sources and references so that you may verify what I'm saying. I'm also happy to post this on a community page so that community members can also do their own investigations around this important decision. Paul Connett, PhD, wrote a paper in 2004 titled 50 Reasons to Oppose Fluoridation. I'm not going to read out all 50 reasons, but these are some of the reasons that I thought were pertinent. Fluoride is not an essential nutrient. Humans can have perfectly good teeth without fluoride. The largest survey ever conducted in the US showed little difference in tooth decay among children with fluoridated water versus non-fluoridated. Where fluoridation has been discontinued, dental decay is actually decreased. The CDC now acknowledges that fluoride's benefits are mainly topical, not systemic. Thus, you don't have to swallow fluoride to protect your teeth. Despite being prescribed by doctors, the FDA has never approved any fluoride supplement designed for ingestion as safe or effective. Fluoride is a cumulative poison. 50% of the fluoride we ingest accumulates in our bones, pineal gland and other tissues. Fluoride has been shown to cause chromosome damage and interferes with enzymes involved with DNA repair. Rats fed either sodium fluoride or aluminium fluoride have shown morphological changes to their kidneys and brains characteristic of Alzheimer's disease. According to the US EPA, aluminium fluoride currently has a high health research priority due to its known neurotoxicity. In rats, prenatal dosing resulted in hyperactivity, also known as ADHD, while postnatal dosing resulted in hypoactivity, also known as couch potato syndrome. 5 studies from China showing a lowering of IQ in children associated with fluoride exposure. Fluoride administered to animals at high doses wreaks havoc on the male reproductive system, damaging sperm and increasing the rate of infertility in several different species.
Okay, that's your 5 minutes up. Thank you for your presentation. No, sorry, that's right. There's a strict limit on the 5 minutes as per our code of meeting practice. Now, we still have time left within our allotted time for public forum. Again, if I've got any other speakers that would like to come forward, I'll go, sorry, sir, I've got this lady on my left first, and then if you'd like to ask this lady, again, just got to make sure I keep within the 30 minutes of public forum. Thank you, madam. If you'd like to state your name and the topic you'd like to speak on.
Barbara Sutherland, and I'd like to speak on the management of our mature tree canopy. And it is in the budget papers, I guess, is the connection. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the councillors who are recognising that the loss of our tree canopy since the withdrawal of the 1995 tree preservation order is an issue. 30 years is a long time. The world is a very different place, and we have to move with change. And I do note that one of our speakers talked about voluntary fees for voluntary organisations and talked about councils that don't do it. It's the same with our tree preservation order, as we all know. So I thought it's a good time to talk about a couple of very recent incidents or recent approvals that and I refer to the Old Forestry Commission that has had the DA approved. Now that is a classic example of where a development control plan has, or a lack thereof, in terms of the green tree canopy, will cause the destruction of many mature canopy trees totally unnecessarily. Some of them have to go, of course, and we always have to juggle development with those things, but council has been negligent on a development control plan. I'm happy to see that does seem to be being addressed in the Northwest Precinct. That draft DCP does seem to be including some tree canopy. The other issue of recent is at the Conservatorium, the removal of very large canopy trees, one in 1.5 metre diameter, 1.2 and 850 centimetres, quite significant trees. When I asked the Department of School Education, they basically said, well, council doesn't have any problem with it. And so the issue, 50% of our tree canopy is on public space, 50% is on private space. We are not doing any protection. And just to reiterate, the same councils that do it: Armidale, Orange, Albury, Wagga. We are the only large regional council, and we look forward to having some improvement, but hopefully it doesn't keep us in that worst of large regional areas in the future. I think that we can do a lot better. And we need to make our city a livable city for future generations, and our green tree canopy is an important issue to address that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Sutherland. And now there was the gentleman on my right who stood up before, so if you'd like to come forward now, same story, state your name, the topic you're talking on, and your 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors and mayor and staff. My name's Eden Hugesteger, and I'm a resident of the Rosewood Grove area. I'm speaking on the matter CCL 23-156. For over a decade, I understand there's been a growing need for a drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre in Dubbo. I also understand the project started out as a collaborative process between the community, the local government and the state government. In more recent months, the careful collaborative planning of this facility was superimposed by what appears to be a rash decision, an announcement to build the centre in an inappropriate residential location being Spears Drive. This blindsided our Rosewood Grove community and left us feeling confused, frustrated and ignored by those who we have asked to represent us. We can all agree on the need for this centre. This is a discussion about the centre's location. I'm sure we're all fairly well informed about the main sort of issues. I just wanted to add a few other comments on some of those issues. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the email exchange I had with you today. You stated that the sideline large greenfield Bunga site is amongst a residential area, but you didn't specify if it's in an established residential area with real families, with real houses in the immediate vicinity versus a residential area in planning only, which I understand the sideline large greenfield Bunga site is only in planning at this stage. This comment detracts from the genuine objections made by the residents who have already established their homes and families in the immediate vicinity of Spears Drive. They have not had the choice to buy or not buy a home next to a drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre with detox beds or rooms. In terms of the concerns about the development of the Greenfield Bunga site causing delays, I have heard from people who were part of a meeting on Monday the 19th of June, so just this Monday gone, between a number of stakeholders and the State Health Minister, where the CEO of Western Area Health, Mark Spittle, stated that if the Bunga site were selected, it would only delay the development of the project by 3 to 4 months, not an 18-month delay as I've heard suggested. And then I also have a question. After hearing such great community concern, can Council re-offer the Bunga Road site to the state government as an alternative location for the Drug and Alcohol Rehabilitation Centre? And if not, why not? And I support the motion by Councillor Pam Wells to offer the Greenfield Bunga Road site for the Drug and Alcohol Rehabilitation Centre to the state government. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for clarification there, I realise you asked a question. As per 4.17 our meeting procedure, we don't provide answers. So a question, rhetorical as it may be, but it's not designed to be a question and answer session. But I appreciate that. I'll take it as a question that you're putting out there as a point to ponder. So thank you. Now we still do have, we still do have some time left in our public forum process. I'm sorry. No, sorry. Every speaker is limited to 5 minutes, so you don't have another chance to have something to talk about. And sorry, we've got a lady down the back. Oh, sorry.
Which one?
Yeah, no, you got your hand up first, so you're a quick draw. So,
Thanks, Gil.
so come forward again. You know the story. State your name and what you're speaking on, and then away you go.
Okay, my name's Rebecca Miller. I'm speaking on behalf of the drug rehab and supporting Pam Wells in her motion and asking that Council also support Pam. Both Beck and Eden have said a lot that I had planned on saying, so I won't bother boring you with those details again. But what I will say is, while it's a largely known fact that council don't have the final say in where the rehab goes, as per the media release from Ryan Park dated the 21st of June, you actually find yourselves in a really unique position. You do have the final say. You can put it on Bungle Gumby Road if that's where it should go. With that knowledge, we implore you to please support Pam. The original location of Bungle Gumby Road would be much more preferred than Spears Drive, simply because Spears Drive is already developed. Whereas, at least with Bungle Gumby, when it is developed, if the rehab is already there, you plan around the rehab. The residents that are going to buy into the location know there's a rehab there. Unlike a lot of us residents here, when we bought our properties, we didn't know that there was going to be a rehab. We didn't know that there was a chance that there would be a rehab. There's so many families that are going to be adversely affected, not to mention the clients of the facility that will be adversely affected if it is put in Spears Drive. They will not get the privacy that they deserve. They will not get the common decency of being able to have their own business within their business, not in our community, not where I can look across the road and I can say, oh, look, there's Joe Bob going in. Because that is what will happen. If you put it in a residential community that is already established, everyone knows what's going on. And that is simply not good for anyone that is suffering from addiction, that they are trying to beat, that they have put themselves into rehab, because we are told it's a voluntary rehab. So if they put themselves in there, we need to give them the best opportunity that they can heal. And unfortunately, Spears Drive, not it. Bungle Gumby, much more better. So I implore you all, please support Pam and support her motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Miller. So now we're going to do something new, councillors. We haven't had this situation before. So we've now reached the end of our 30 minutes of public forum, and as per 4.3 of our meeting procedure, then that brings an end to that. But if councillors wish to extend the period allowed for public forum, again, as per 4.3, any councillor can move a motion to extend the time frame. We can debate that, and then we can extend that time frame if that motion goes through. If you're going to move a motion to extend the time frame, you need to nominate how long you wish to extend it for, and you only get one go at that. So in other words, if we extend it for X number of minutes and we get to that limit, we don't have another go at extending again. So essentially, and again, I suppose what I'm saying there is go longer than you think it would be, because we don't have to go that full length of time. So if anyone wants to move a motion to extend public forum, Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can see a lot of interest here. I would like to put another 20-minute extension.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Can I have someone, and sorry, public forum, we'll just go through this procedure before we open it back up again. I have someone second that, please. Councillor Goff. Councillor Chowdhury, do you wish to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Okay, councillors, do we have any other speakers in relation to this particular motion? Any other further debate? Keeping in mind that there's one chance at it, so there's 20 minutes will be the extra maximum we could add on. Okay, there being no further discussion, all those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Okay, thank you, councillors. So now we'll resume normal service. We've now got an extra 20 minutes for public forum. So anyone else that would like to come forward in that 20-minute time frame, the rules are all the same. You've still got your 5 minutes and you can come forward and speak, but at the end of 20 minutes, that will be the end of it. So the lady there in the middle, who was just behind the drawer, and the lady at the back, if you'd like to come forward now. Okay.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kelly Lou, and I'm here to talk about the rehab centre. My house looks directly, I'm in front of the rehab centre that's going to be coming our way. I can't understand why you would not put it on a 25-acre block. We are going to be having to cater for all out west to Burke, Walgett. It will be growing. So why wouldn't you put it on a block of land which you can keep extending over years? If you put it on Spears Drive, you've only got a limited amount of space. So when we do have growth that needs in that area, and then you'll have to go and put it in another 4 acres around Dubbo, you've got it all in one. So if you look for the future, like you are on Bumblegumby Road, you would think about putting it on a block of land, and even if you haven't got the money to build a big, massive one now, you can extend like anything else. So I think it should be actually put out of town. I've worked in the sector, and I just can't see how you putting it in a residential area is going to work for either the people that are in the rehab or the neighbours. Yep. So that's all.
Okay.
I follow Pam Wells.
Thank you. Now with our 20-minute extension, we've got more time left for public forum, so if anyone else would like to come forward and put their points of view forward, again typically about any item in the agenda, any item related to council, but any item in the agenda is normally what public forum focuses on. Karina, no, you've had your go. You've only got a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker, I'm sorry. That's again according to our code of meeting practice. Anyone else that hasn't spoken, obviously? No? Sorry, there's a lady down the back. I'm not sure if she's stretching or putting her hand up. Yep, okay. Thank you, madam. The floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure of the procedure. I know I talk a lot.
Sorry, just start with
Let's
your name.
see how I go.
The name and the topic.
Joy Whittle. And I'd like to speak about lot 311 and 312, and I am totally against it. And I would like everyone to listen to Pam Wells. I've known her for a long time, and she has the most integrity and honesty and the will of the people. I did ask council, I went and talked to people at the council, asked who owned the land behind my block, and I was told the Aboriginal land, and I was ecstatic. I thought, good, it'll be looked after. And so I purchased the block of land and built a home, and now I hear council has sold it to Western Health. I did never hear of any of the feasibility studies to sell it off to Western Health. I'd like to know if there were some. Someone might let me know. However, we talk about location, and we hear the saying, not in my backyard. All right, let's think about the people who are going to be attending. It's self-made disabilities. I don't think the healing procedure for them would be beneficial in residential areas. They need a healing area in a forest, near a river, in a peaceful area. Residential is peaceful, however it won't be if you build the drug and rehabilitation centre there. They go in, they come out, they go in and they come out. Wellington, north of the town, would probably be advisable, because then they can go in and come out and go in and come out. Residential has vulnerable people. They don't need to be subjected to extra. So let's be peaceful and put it where it's beneficial for those attending. And I ask the council to support. If it was refused Bungle Gumby, Brocklehurst and South Dubbo, why would you think the Gordon estate would be perfect? I'd have all the objections that all the previous Brocklehurst and South Dubbo, etc., have protested against not going there. So, in short, safety for them, safety for the residents. It will not be safe to have them, be it, what's it called? There goes us, what is it? Stand in other people's shoes. For their safety, look after them. Don't put them in residential where they're not welcome. And I'd suggest the Bungle Gumby initial there would probably be a good idea. I've got lots more written down. However, someone else might like a turn. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Ms Whittle. And now we still do have some time left in public forum. If there are any other speakers? There being none, I'll now move on to the next item on the agenda. I do appreciate people coming along. I do like it when we have a full gallery. Now with streaming, we tend to have more people at home than in the public gallery, so it is fantastic to see so many people coming along. Next item is CCL 23/149, confirmation of minutes. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Goff. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Sorry, councillors, I'll go slow with those as well because we've got someone remotely. Obviously, there's a slight lag there for Councillor Mann. So when I say for and against, just maybe keep your hand up a little bit longer so it's definite which way is for and against. Next item is CCL 23/150, mayoral appointments and meetings. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 23/151, report of the Infrastructure Planning Environment Committee. Councillor Black so moved, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Discussion or debate, councillors? Sorry, Councillor Black, you would like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Only to say that we had a presentation from the Gulgong Mudgee Dubbo Sydney Rail Action Group, and I did have a chance to bring the matter up with Jenny Aitchison, the Minister for Regional Transport and Roads, when I bumped into her in Dubbo in the last week or so, and so I'd just like to report back that I have spoken to the Minister about that and expressed that there was a group from Mudgee really keen to reopen the rail line. So she's taken that on notice, and I might send through some information to her that we were sent in an action to help them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Anything else in relation to 23/151, councillors? Being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 23/152, a report of the Culture and Community Committee. So move Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Now before any discussion or debate, Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to declare non-pecuniary less than significant conflict for CCC 23/52 as DCFM withdraw the funding application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. I also will declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest because, again, that same item, DCFM, I do a text segment on DCFM, but that item has been withdrawn, so I'll stay in the meeting. Now, councillors, any further discussion or debate? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to ask, do we know why DCFM withdrew their application? Is there anything of relevance that councillors should know?
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. I'll go through to the CEO on that one and then through to Mr Arms.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you. It was a short letter in response to our discussion following the committee meeting. So DCFM thanked Council for its consideration and also apologise for any inconvenience, but said that they were interested in looking at other avenues for funding. And it was really as simple as that.
Thank you, Mr Arms. Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any further questions or debate in relation to 23/152? No. Being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, 23/153. Councillor Mann moved. And seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Any discussion or debate, councillors? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, 23/154, audit of signs across the urban areas of the LGA. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes,
Just move at this stage. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to move that the CEO provide a report to Council in September 2023 on the accuracy and quality of the signage for which Council has responsibility across the urban areas of the local government area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Some people may say this is a trivial matter, and really what's it matter what the signs say, and if they're wrong, does that really matter? And my answer to that is yes, it does matter. I think that we, as a council, should portray to the public accuracy and a fact that we care about what we do portray to the public. And I think one of the ways we do that is through the signage. If we go through the local government area here, there are some glaring areas, I think, where it tends to suggest we as a council don't really care. I talk about some of the signs down here at the police area. I talk about some signs where, if I can just... at the John McGrath Fields, it says the Dubbo City Council, John McGrath Fields. At the Bob Dowling Fields, the Dubbo City Council sign. It hasn't been the Dubbo City Council now for, what, 7 years? I mean, it's a very important area down there. Shouldn't we at least have it accurately portrayed? In the Wellington area, perhaps the main entrance to Wellington from the Orange Road at the turn-off to the caves, there's a big sign there that says the Wellington Information Centre is situated in Cameron Park. It hasn't been situated in Cameron Park for, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 years. You know, it just portrays to the public that we don't really care, it doesn't really matter. And I just think that we should be more accurate and caring than that. Again, that same area advertising Wellington tourist attractions, there's a sign there which I don't know whether council put it up, but it's certainly on council-controlled land, that talks about the Angora Tourist Farm. Now, the Angora Tourist Farm hasn't operated in Wellington again for probably 8 or 9 years. I mean, it's not good enough. And I think, again, if we can have an audit of the signs in the area, then it may just portray to the public that we as a council care. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any other speakers? Councillor Wright and then Councillor Chowdhury.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Happy to support this one. Look, I've also had some similar comments about signs around the CBD, especially those tourist sort of driven ones where you might read, but and it'll direct you or tell you a bit about a certain location. But unfortunately, there's a certain facet of the community that probably don't care as much. And when you look at the unfortunate condition of the sign itself, it tells pretty clearly that there's a certain facet of the community that probably don't care as much about that sign. There is another particular sign that I've driven past on multiple times back from Newcastle that only in the last year or so was still telling me that the old Dubbo Jail is located between the Commonwealth Bank and the National Bank in the main street of Macquarie Street. Well, the CBA and the NAB, I know the NAB hasn't been there for about 10 years and the CBA hasn't been there for a number of years either. So, look, I think it's timely and it does show, you're right, that we care, and I think it displays a bit of a professional type image to people visiting the LGA. So, yeah, happy to support it, mate.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also echoing with my support for this notice of motion, and I think it is a time to do a proper audit around urban area of the LGA. because as Councillor Ivy and Councillor Wright mentioned, like there are still a few of old signs around Dubbo and Wellington, and some might need to be removed and some might need to be repaired, and leaving like this sign is a poor look for Dubbo LGA. So I expect Council will do a proper audit and action it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? No. Councillor Ivy, would you like a right of reply?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Okay. So we have that before us now, councillors. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Next item, CCL 23/155. Councillor Ivy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that, one, the Chief Executive Officer provide a report to Council that sets out strategies implemented, infrastructure projects completed by Council, which will provide greater resilience for our region should it move back into drought conditions. Number two, that to also be included in this report any other strategies or projects which are being considered or should be considered to further enhance the drought resilience within our local government area.
Thank you, Councillor Ivy. Have someone second that, please. Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Ivy, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, look, there's no doubt about it. The last really 3 or 4 years illustrate what climate change can mean to this area. We went through a period of perhaps one of the worst droughts in the last 100+ years, followed by a very wet event. The predictions are that we're going to move back into drought conditions, that perhaps the end of this year, end of spring into summer will be very dry, and we will move back into an El Nino phase. Now, I think the point of my motion is really to bring to the public's notice the improvements which we as a council have made since the last drought event. I'm not going to foreshadow the sort of things that the council may put in or the staff may put in to this in response to this motion, but I can think of the extra bore fields, which is providing backup water for Dubbo, again for Wellington Township, the same thing, extra bore fields. I'm thinking of some of the improved irrigation systems, the sprinklers that have been put in, perhaps smart water meters. There's a whole lot of areas, perhaps recycling, which we should be, it'd be a good idea for Council to consolidate those ideas and or those actions and inform the public of what we have done and what has gone on since the last drought. The second part of the motion, though, is while doing that, I think it would be very good if Council identified or staff identified the other strategies or projects which perhaps haven't been looked at and which should be considered, and that they should bring to Council that list so that we as a council can perhaps start to think about being proactive towards improving the position that this LGA will find itself in if we do indeed go back into drought conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivy. Any other speakers on this motion, councillors? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 23/156, Alcohol and Other Drugs Rehabilitation Centre. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm moving a motion that, that is, lost the page, CCL 23/156. That my recommendation is that one, Council note its support for the construction of an alcohol and other drug rehabilitation facility for the Dubbo region, that the CEO provide a report to the July 2023 ordinary meeting of Council addressing the financial, regulatory and legal matters around the provision of land for the AOD rehabilitation facility.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Can someone second that, please? Councillor Etheridge. Before we just start any debate on that or you speak to that, Councillor Wells, Councillor Black.
A non-pecuniary less than significant interest in this item, as I'm employed by the Parliament of New South Wales 3 days a week and allocated to the office of Stephen Lawrence, who was extensively involved in lobbying for a Dubbo Rehab Centre during his previous time on council and since then. I intend to continue to participate in this matter and stay in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Wells, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I would. Thank you. Look, the purpose for putting this motion forward is it was obviously on the back of Councillor Black's motion last month, where council then said that we were, in favour of the site being we were not in favour of the site at Spears Drive, and that this was more about getting some more information and a question on notice to understand the details of what's happened over the history of the planning around the alcohol and other drugs facility. I also wanted to thank the people in the galley in their speaking tonight. I feel very humbled by people coming along and supporting the motion. It might look like that I've asked people to come, but that's absolutely not the case. But thank from people for support, because in my heart of hearts, I believe that we need to be very clear to the New South Wales State Government that Spears Drive is absolutely not the location that it should be placed, and we've been able to apply enough influence and pressure to the New South Wales Health to that we don't agree with the site, and thankfully I think we've heard that has been heard in terms of the media release that was presented today by Minister I think it is Minister Park, and so some of the information in that gives me some sort of sense that I feel that we will get a better outcome, hopefully, if we can work closely with the New South Wales Local Health District on getting a more appropriate place for the alcohol and other drugs facility. I agree with all that was said tonight. We absolutely cannot have such a facility in a residential area where there are great and grave concerns for both the residents living there and the service users who may use that site, who will need the appropriate type of centre, and that there are better land parcels out there for us to pursue as a council and work with the local, the New South Wales Local Health District to ensure that we get the right centre in the right place for to provide the right service for the people who need to use it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Other speakers? Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can see committee has a real concern for this drug rehab centre, and this centre should get underway soon. I have seen last night that Minister Ryan has a press release where he has mentioned that he wants to see this rehab construction start without delay, and Minister also wants to do this operation, drug rehab operation, by 2025. So I have a question through you, Mr. Mayor. If councillors decided to go ahead with the Bumble-Gumby Road, how long will it take time to prepare that land, and what would be the appropriate cost to develop that site? Also, is there any further grant commitment from the Minister Ryan Parker to cover additional cost? Thank you.
So I'll send that question through to the CEO. So just to clarify questions there, any estimated delays you'd like to know about Bumble-Gumby, and if there's any grant funds that they've promised? And the only question I have before I just send that through to you, Councillor Chowdhury, is there are 2 parcels of land that have been considered in the past in the consultation that council has done with Western Local Health District over the years. There have been 2 parcels that have been considered. Are you focused on either one of those 2 parcels in particular, or you want to have information on both of those parcels?
Just both of them.
Both of them. Thank you. Is there enough information for you, Mr. CEO, to clarify the questions being asked? Okay, thank you.
And a little bit more context, there's been a large number of parcels of land that have been discussed since 2018 right up until indeed the announcement of Spears Drive with staff. 2 of those are at Bumble-Gumby. One, which is a 10-hectare lot, is relatively easy with servicing with water and sewer, so it's not covering a great distance, so that would be relatively simple. It's not designed, so capacity of pipes would have to be understood. Designed for water and sewer type stuff. Again, somewhat generically, is around 3 months typically for greenfield development. The developer, whatever that looks, whoever is developing the building asset or the property would pay for that. That's the design. It would be a relatively simpler design of that, but smaller site that is closer to the existing residential area of Rosewood Grove. But it is, the challenge there is we're in the middle of designing a road, so that's that bungle, and that's that off-take road from the approach road to the River Street Bridge. The second one, and what was attached as an appendix way back when in 2018, is a 90-hectare site, Bungle Gumby, further up to the extreme end of the former water and sewage land that council owned. That is some distance from any water and sewer connections. Again, typically that would take designs. That would take 3 months as the advice from staff. Again, we have to talk generically because there's been no geotech for, and indeed there's some Telstra, from my memory, infrastructure in the road reserve as well. So that would typically take between 6 and 12 months to deliver water and sewer. I'm talking very generically again. And then once you've actually provided water and sewer to a property, then you can actually go through a subdivision process. So the 4 hectares, for example, that they're using and has said meets their needs at Spears Drive, that's Health, Western LHD. So you can't subdivide until you have water and sewer and electricity provided to it. Electricity is outside of council's remit. My director infrastructure, $250,000, but time frame from 6 months typically from, we're uncontrolled. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it goes more slowly in terms of electricity. Talking very generically, of course.
So did that give you enough of an answer, Councillor Chowdhury? Do you need any more clarification there?
Yeah, I just make one other comment, can I make a comment or question?
You've entered the debate already, so this is your one chance to make any comments or debate. You can ask questions, but this is your opportunity to debate.
Just to my clarification, Spears Drive is not like a council land, and I also believe that New South Health already transferred the fund with other state government, whoever the landowner, for this Spears Drive, and I like to echoing with Councillor Wells, last month, with Councillor Black, notice of motion that council will actively looking the location for that with New South Wales Health to find a new location.
So that there was a question in relation to
my question,
the work our staff are doing. Is that what the question specifically was?
Sorry, a little bit confused you. And my question was, Spears Drive, is that council land or other state, a department land?
Yeah, so, yep.
I did forget to answer part of your question. So in terms of water and sewer, staff have done an estimate for putting appropriate size water pipes, sewer pipes to Bungle Gumby land. That'd be around $1.5 to $1.6 million with the energy infrastructure associated with that as well, electricity. The land, Spears Drive was property New South Wales. As councillors know, that was transferred. There was a budget reallocation from Health to Property New South Wales to acquire that land for Spears Drive.
Any further debate or questions, Councillor Chowdhury? Remember, you only get the one chance at debate. So anything else you want to say? This is your chance.
Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I would, with all due respect to Councillor Wells, who as I say, I do respect and I recognise her motion, I will vote against it. Now, can I just explain why? I think actually the second part of the motion, well, the first part of the motion we all support, that an alcohol and other drug rehabilitation facility is needed in this area. That's a gimme. But the second part of the motion is that the CEO provides a report to the July 23 ordinary meeting of council addressing the financial, regulatory and legal matters around the provision of land for AOD rehabilitation facility. I'm sorry, I don't see how that will help our push to have the facility sited at a new location. That doesn't say, it doesn't even mention Bungle Gumby Road. It doesn't say that it should be on Bungle Gumby Road instead of Spears Drive. It just says that we want a report on the some implications of provision of land, any land. I think our motion last council meeting said that we oppose the present site. That was unanimous. The second part of the motion was that we would work actively with New South Wales Health to find a more preferable site. That still stands, and it is happening. Our staff are dealing with New South Wales Health in trying to find alternative areas, and I can't see anything wrong with that. That's what should happen. Now, as again I say, I don't believe that Councillor Wells' motion would actually help the provision of moving the facility from Spears Drive to Bungle Gumby Road. And in relation to that issue, can I say, sorry, Councillor Wells, in your talking to your motion, you did say that you thought the rehabilitation centre shouldn't be located in a residential area. That's wrong. And that's the same as Ms Whittle said and Ms Glue said, that shouldn't be located in a residential area. If we put it at Bungle Gumby Road, that will be a residential area. 5 years' time, it'll be in the middle of a residential area. So from the residents, if you like, or the patients, or whatever you call them, they will be they'll be worse off. We're saying that it should be somewhere else. And I think that really is a very good point. It shouldn't be in a residential area. But having said that, it is the state government who made that decision. We did not make that decision to put it there. If the state government had wanted to put it somewhere else, at Bungle Gumby Road, they could have acquired our land. They have the final say, not us. It is the state government who decided to put it there, who had the legislative power to decide that they would take that land and do it. If they wanted to put it at Bungle Gumby Road, they could have. They chose not to. So I think what we've got to do is, again, work with them to try to change their mind for another site. I think we should still do that.
Sorry, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Ivey, can I just ask you to sit down for 1 second? I've just got some chatter in the public forum, and you've been very good so far, but it's just difficult for councillors to focus and everyone else to hear when there's some chatter in the public forum. So if I could just ask the public forum to stay quiet while the debate's going on, that would be appreciated. Thank you, Councillor Ivey.
If we, in fact, can't change their mind, and I must admit, I wonder whether we really can. They have just paid $1.2 million to transfer the land from one government department to another government department in the last 3 weeks. I suspect they're pretty serious about what they want to do. If we can't change their mind, then what we've got to do is try to work with them to make sure the impact on the residents, the existing residents, is absolutely minimised. And I think we can do that. I mean, the site is 10 acres. Now, I hear that perhaps that won't, in future, that won't be big enough. But certainly for the facility that's proposed now, it's plenty big enough to move it away from the residential area, to put in landscaping and to put in protection, so that in actual fact, when you drive up Spears Drive and come to the end of the Spears Drive and the start of this facility, you would not even see it. You wouldn't know it was there. And that seems to be what we as a council should do with New South Wales Health to make sure that if they will not change their mind, then that is what the situation becomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Other discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And thanks, Pam, Councillor Wells, for bringing up this motion as well. And again, every respect for you as a councillor as well, and the respect that you've got for members of the community. Look, with Councillor Ivey, look, I too, unfortunately, I can't support the motion as it stands. I'm a big supporter of that motion that was also passed at the last council meeting, which was for council to absolutely reject or oppose the location of the Spears Drive current proposed site, and absolutely to continue to work with the state government to find something suitable. And certainly this council, I believe, has been working with the state government for around 5 years now to try and find a site. site, and up to 40 different locations have been considered over that period of time. And I guess one of the things that I find a little bit frustrating is that there's a lot of noise out there at the moment from the current Labor government, the state government, but who came into power at late March, but this block of land seemingly only transferred several weeks ago to the new owner, being New South Wales Health. So there's a good period of time in which the pause button could have been pressed on this particular proposal whilst they listened to the concerns of the community, but it seems the concerns of the community have fallen on deaf ears, and I'm hoping Council can continue to make that push. And I don't think this is so much about Spears Drive versus Bungle Gumby. I think it is about, as you say, and a lot of other people have spoken today, about it not being in that residential location. And again, if we refer to that, the Bungle Gumby Road location, like Councillor Ivy's suggested, it will be in the middle of a residential subdivision, and obviously see where there's later in the meeting we'll talk about the master plan for that northwest precinct, and there will be schools and there will be aged care and potentially childcare all within that sort of 400-metre radius that one of our people spoke about here tonight, and that to me indicates that too would likely be an unsuitable location. So. Looking at that press release from the Minister's office in the last 24 hours, the indication I get from that is that they want to move ahead, and they want to move ahead very quickly, and they want to have the doors open on that facility in 2025. That is only a couple of years away. If we are potentially talking any delay, whether it's 6, 12 months, 18 months to potentially subdivide, bring services, etc. to this particular location at Bungle Gumby Road, we push into 2026 or maybe even beyond. And reading that press release that was out yesterday, it doesn't seem to fit within that criteria. But as it stands, unfortunately can't support that one, Councillor Wells, but thank you for bringing it to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Basically, the media release yesterday from the Minister for Health, Ryan Park, is an invitation to this council to correct what I believe was a mistake, and I'll go through all this and I'll say why Councillor Wells' motion should be voted on, supported by everyone. The first line of this media release says, "The New South Wales Minister for Regional Health, Ryan Park, has encouraged the Dubbo Regional Council, being us, to come forward with alternative locations for the Dubbo Rehab Centre." This motion by Councillor Wells would be part of that. Obviously, the CEO has just said about what's needed for transferring land, what we legally need to do, etc., etc. This would show the Health Minister, Regional Health Minister Ryan Park, that we are, as a council, us 10 elected councillors, are serious in actually trying to get this rehab centre moved to a more appropriate location. It then goes on, blah, blah, blah. The Western New South Wales LHD has acquired a site on Spears Drive that it can move forward with to undertake community consultation and planning. All that says is that, yeah, they can use that site. Doesn't mean that there's not other sites out there. The next line of the media release says, "Council-owned land at North Bungle Gumby was previously considered as a potential site by the LHD, and initial investigations by the LHD indicated it could be appropriate, but in 2022, council staff advised that it was no longer available. If council has alternatives, such as the North Bungle Gumby site that meet the requirements to the nature of the service, that can be transferred to the LHD and which can be made ready for the project, and I urge them to bring those alternatives to the table so they can be carefully considered." This, supporting Councillor Wells' motion, is the first step in that. We've heard about heaps of delays and those sort of things, and the cost of transferring. The cost of transferring the land to the state government is like you taking money out of your left pocket and putting it in your right pocket. It's government to government transfer. There is no real cost there whatsoever. So I don't think we need to place any weight on that at all. The amounts of delays, when I spoke to the CEO of Western LHD this afternoon, extensive conversation, there was about a 3 to 4 month delay if the North Bungle Gumby site was going to be put back up by this council. The CEO of Western LHD did say that this North Bungle Gumby site was the preferred site prior to the Spears Drive site. So it was only after council staff withdrew in May 2022 in a report noted by us of action that was already taken. It was only then that Western LHD stopped looking at the North Bungle Gumby site and went on looking at other sites and came up with the Spears Drive site right in the middle of an established residential area. Now, up at the Bungle Gumby Road site, if a rehab was to go up there, it'd be on the edge of sort of some recreational land, parkland, environmental land with an outlook looking at that. It'd be virtually rural. It wouldn't be houses on four sides like it's going to be where it is currently. And as many speakers, I thank all the speakers for their attendance tonight and speaking and supporters of the Rosewood Grove area. Basically, if it's up at that North Bungle Gumby site, people will know what they're moving into. It'll be an established rehab centre. People will probably say, oh yeah, we can live there. And people would move in with full knowledge of what's there. So the concerns of the community haven't fallen on deaf ears, as Councillor Wright just said. Like I said, the Health Minister said encourage the WA Regional Council, us 10 councillors, to come forward with alternative locations for the WA Rehab Centre. Let's do that. Let's actually do that. Support Councillor Wells' motion and actually see what land we have, the legal implications of offering that land, because the land was being withdrawn. We're here because of the withdrawal of that North Bungle Gumby site. We wouldn't be here talking about this now in Spears Drive and dumping a rehab centre right next to established residential neighbourhood, except that this council, the staff of this council in the May 2022 report, withdrew the offer of the land. And to say that there was no resolution offering the land, everyone knows for years that various sites had been offered. Otherwise, what would there have been to withdraw? It simply doesn't make sense, that whole statement. Everyone understands that a further resolution of this council would have been needed to complete the transfer of that land. That's a given, okay? But to say that, oh, there's no resolution of council, I can't find a resolution, I live and die by resolutions, I've got a little resolution shrine in my house, or those sort of things, everyone knows, it's in all of the media for years and years. One of the speakers mentioned a whole stack of it there tonight, that the offer was there. Us councillors have seen the reports, we've been emailed them in the last couple of days, we've all read them, where it's gone through different committees which had delegation of council, was accepted, the business case, etc., where land was offered. That's why Western LHD was looking at it. Now that was taken away from them. What else do we have here that we need to get through? Basically, I think a bit of a mistake was made by the Western LHD of their hard 10 minutes from the hospital. They could have expanded that out a little bit more and still got people who needed to get them to hospital, and I think that that's something that we could talk about with council. So I would urge councillors to support Councillor Wells' motion. In my view, if this motion is not supported, then we're effectively saying to the residents of Rosewood Grove, many of them in this room, we're not prepared to take the next step to look at what sort of land can be used. To the state government has encouraged the council to come forward with alternative locations for the WA Rehab Centre. We actually need to support this motion and not vote against it and not say, well, no, too bad you people, we're just going to leave the rehab centre next to your established houses. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any further? Councillor Mann.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, just a lot of what I wanted to say has probably already been said, so I won't repeat it. I would like to probably refute a fair portion of Councillor Black's discussion. I think there's been a bit of a witch hunt, a lot of innuendo, what's the motion, what's on the books, what's not on the books, etc., etc. We can all, I guess, make our phone calls and talk to people and present our own opinion on what that actually rolls out. The motion doesn't talk about Bungle Gumby Road. The motion talks about land, and for that reason, I will support Councillor Wells on this one, because yes, it would be part of it. I'm 100% behind the resolution from last month that we get it out of Spears Drive. It's not the right place. And I also believe Bungle Gumby is not the right place because that is also a prime development place for the future of the town. So if we don't think that's the right facility to be in a residential area, well, it doesn't belong there either. Our motion last month was all about working with them to try and find an alternative site. If this report and the mechanics behind the report actually can escalate that, I'm very happy with that. But I think I absolutely don't believe Bungle Gumby is the right place, but certainly Spears Drive is not either. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Any further discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor, you can ask a question, Councillor Wright. You can't enter the debate again.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just referencing that first line of that press release which Councillor Black referred to, which was that the Regional Health Minister for Regional Health, Ryan Park, encouraged the Dubbo Regional Council to come forward with alternate locations for the Dubbo Rehab Centre. And then just also referencing point 2 of that resolution from last month, which stated for Council to write to the relevant minister raising its objections to the chosen site and confirm Council's commitment to work with Western LHD to identify a more suitable parcel of land. Can I ask, has Council written to the minister and expressed those details? For one. And secondly, have we had a response from the minister with respect to that letter, if one was actually sent?
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I can answer that one because that went from me on behalf of Council. So certainly a letter went to the Minister's office to outline the exact resolution of Council to say that, number one, we oppose the site, and number two, that our staff are happy to continue to work with Western Local Health District to try and find a suitable site, as opposed to the current site, which we have said officially, formally, is not a suitable site. So that went off at the beginning of June, Councillor Wright, and I'd received no response as of a couple of days ago, and obviously I was conscious of a council meeting coming up, so I sent another email as a follow-up to say, have you got a response for this? It had been, to my mind, a reasonable length of time. I got a response back to that simply said, yes, we've received your initial letter and you'll receive something as a review of that soon. No time frame given on that. And then the media release went out last night, which I received from the media. And so again, on the basis of that, I actually went back to the Minister's office again today and said, there's a media release here. I've received no formal communication from the Minister's office. Have you got some formal communication to back up the contents of this media release? And I haven't received any response to that email that's gone there. So yes, in answer to your two questions, yes, a letter has been sent off, and no response apart from an acknowledgement that my letter has been received, I suppose, by the Minister's office. No response in relation to the detail on that. And I suppose that brings up an important point. The resolution from last month was quite clear that we said we oppose, as council, on behalf of the community, we oppose the location of Spears Drive. We, as a council, on behalf of the community, do not believe that is an appropriate site. So it's a formal resolution of council, and we'll continue to work with Western Local Health District to try and find a suitable site. And the first line out of that media release actually says that they'll work with council to continue that process. Now, I don't know if the CEO has a number that we might have over the years, number of different sites we might have talked to over the years, but again, that offer is there to continue to work with them to find a suitable site. I also agree with Councillor Mann that North Bungle Gumby is not appropriate because, again, it is residential. The same problem we've got now with Spears we would have with Bungle Gumby. But again, we're happy to work with them and go to that path and find a parcel, a suitable parcel of land anywhere. And I suppose Councillor Ivey hit the nail on the head that this is a state government decision. They have greater powers than council. We don't have the power to choose where it goes, or in fact the type of services that are delivered. Detox was talked about as a type of service that shouldn't be delivered, should be delivered somewhere else. We don't have the say in any of those things. We don't have the say in any of this process. The state government has a say on that. But I'll ask the CEO if you just happen to have an approximate number, Mr. CEO, for the number of sites that might have been looked at over the years in consultation between council and Western Local Health District, and also if Spears Drive was in fact one of the sites that we discussed with Western Local Health District.
I've had a recollection. There's around 16 council-owned sites in a variety, and I will add that typically, basing this from recall, they were typically rural-based sites because that was sort of the discussion with council at the time, so more rural properties. We also then worked with, and so I will add some clarification there that whilst the advice from staff, and it was subsequently endorsed through a standing committee meeting on the 12th of May to withdraw the Bungle Gumby sites, that wasn't a withdrawal of assistance for health to find other council or other land. Staff continued to work, and I'm very hard to find alternative parcels of land for, or a parcel of land, and that included doing facilitation with Property New South Wales, even Taronga Zoo, some of their large parcels of land, Crown lands as well. That I don't have it off the top of my head because there is a large suite and we weren't sort of in control of that land. So around 16 parcels of councils based on, now I'll add another clarification, up until April, May, up until May, I can't recall off the top of my head, we were unaware, council staff, so right from back at the beginning in 2018, there was this 10-minute drive to hospital. So we weren't aware of that in terms of searching for land as well. That became clear, as I say, somewhere between March and May. So that then opened up more conversations to other parcel owners, such as Crown Lands, Property New South Wales, Aboriginal Lands Council as well.
Thank you, CEO. That's an answer to that. And again, based on that, I certainly can't support this because it doesn't achieve anything. We achieved what we needed to achieve last month, I believe. So, Councillor Wright, that hopefully answers your question. Thank you. Councillor Ivey, you can ask a question. Yes.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, just ask the CEO to clarify whether Spears Drive had ever been considered in that list.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Ivey. Mr CEO?
No, is the short answer. I haven't seen any record of council staff raising that. It possibly came about with council staff facilitated introductions with Western Local Health District with people, senior leaders in Property New South Wales and Crown Land. So I suggest that's what it would have been, where it would have been identified.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. So any further debate? Question, Councillor Black?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So far from the Western LHD and the Health Ministry, we haven't been told, after we've sent this letter in the last month, that they won't work with council or that they are locked in 100% to the Spears Drive site. Is that correct?
Well, I've received no formal communication whatsoever from the Minister. If I go and ask about Western Local Health District, the question was more in lines, have they said they will or won't work with council? Happy to take that to the CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Certainly after the previous council resolution, which was to continue to work to find alternative sites, I have spoken to Western Health about that, and that collaboration is certainly open to collaboration and looking at sites, noting they have done the transfer for Spears Drive. So in that context, they said, yes, we're happy to talk.
Thank you. So any further questions about Councillor Black? Any further debate? There's a few councillors haven't debated. If there's any further debate or other questions, councillors? No? Okay, Councillor Wells, you have a right of reply to anything that was said during that.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a few things. Firstly, I'd like to say that I respect and appreciate the input from everybody else, whether it's supporting or not supporting the motion. However, I would implore you to support the motion based on a couple of things. Some of the questions that we talked about was everybody in here agrees that Spears Drive is not appropriate, and there are a number of people that feel that North Bumble Gumby is also not appropriate. And I think my response to the North Bumble Gumby approach is that what Councillor Black has said is that it's not yet a residential area and people will have a choice in terms of whether they build there or not. The other things that haven't necessarily been said is that the local health district had performed a public works assessment on the site already and already had an Aboriginal cultural site survey completed on the site, which is two big pieces already out of the way, which would take away some delays. And I expect that a cultural site is performed on any of these land pieces for very cultural reasons, hence why it needs to be in a rural area if possible. But North Bumble Gumby is one of the closest opportunities. We know, and I would continue to influence and talk with Western New South Wales Health District around Spears Drive, as we've all said, that it's not appropriate on a number of levels, and I also want to put the cultural lens on it, that it's not appropriate. A number of the people that will be using this facility, its high statistics, are Aboriginal people. It's not all Aboriginal people, but a high statistics of my Aboriginal community will be using this facility. It's not culturally appropriate there, and I would have satisfaction for it being on North Bumble-Gumby Road, and even more happier if there was a rural site. In terms of the delays, my understanding is it wouldn't be 16 months, that it would be less. Because of those couple of achievements that have already been jumped through, the 10-minute clause, I think I'm really disappointed that that's part of the process that we've had to that had to be applied to the land piece, because no other alcohol and other drugs rehabilitation centre across New South Wales has the 10-minute clause applied to them. I would question New South Wales Local Health District why the 10-minute clause is in there, and can they remove it because of the challenges we're facing with finding a suitable place, or how do we work around it? How do we work with the Local Health District to do something better for a new site? I had a few other thoughts, but they've pretty much gone, but that's my right of reply. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. So I'll ask for a vote in a moment, but again, just do me a favour and keep them up a bit longer because we've got Councillor Marr there, so I'll make sure I get the vote right. So we've got the motion as it sits before us now. We've finished our debate. All those in favour of the motion as it stands? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Move on to the next item, CCL 23/157, the draft budget operational plan and associated documents, results of the public exhibition. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Black. Seconded by Councillor Etheridge. I might just pause before I get you to speak, Councillor Black, because obviously a little bit of noise created while people leave. Can't believe people don't want to stay for the budget. Okay, thank you, councillors. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just very briefly, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, council is in a bit of a position where there's, well, we're going to have to do less with less. I've heard costs are escalating very rapidly. There's the rate peg that's in place. Grant funding just doesn't seem to really cover the costs, so we really need to try and get something where we can maintain services and maintain the upkeep on council-owned items of infrastructure, and also balance the books and provide good value for money. So hopefully this is a fairly modest budget that seeks to do that in some way, and I look forward to some of the amendments as they come later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any discussion or debate, councillors? Yep. So you've got an amendment, Councillor Wright?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do have an amendment that I'd like to table here. And this amendment is, or it's probably an additional point, I suppose, that the Sheraton Road footpath be funded by a reallocation of capital funds from Gibson Brisbane Street footpath and curb and gutter works in the program for 23-24 financial year, and that the removed projects for Gibson Brisbane Street be assessed for future budgets, with such projects being considered in the 24-25 budget process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I have someone second that amendment? Councillor Etheridge, thank you. Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak to your amendment? Sorry, Councillor Black.
School?
Oh, okay, yes, certainly,
Should
sorry.
I should, probably.
I can't tell you which way to go.
Declare in this item, I'll declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest as I work 2 days a week at Dubbo Christian School, and kids from the school will be using potentially the potential footpath. And I'll stay in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Sorry, Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, this particular item has been brought to my attention by a number of people, and I believe Vivid Council have had some conversations with the schools along Sheraton Road. Look, it's no secret that the condition of Sheraton Road, extending south from the indoor sports centre all the way to the new Boundary Road roundabout there, is in horrendous condition and continues to deteriorate. I know Council does have some plans over the next couple of years in their works program to upgrade that particular piece of road. But as South Lakes has continued to grow, so too have the number of children that are using that road as pedestrian access back up to the schools. It's certainly become a safety issue, and again, members of the community bringing this to our attention, and subsequently we'd like to try and deal with that by adding a footpath to a part of that Sheraton Road, which will make it so much safer for pedestrians, especially school children who are progressing from there through to South Lakes and beyond as that estate continues to grow. So that's the purpose of this one, and apologies to the people of Brisbane and Gipp Street who may have to wait another 12 months or more just to have that footpath and curb and gutter works done, but this really does come back to a safety aspect, hence why I've liked to move this one, which is just a shift of funds on the books, I suppose, for Council for this particular motion. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. So remember, councillors, we are now debating just this one item out of our entire budget. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just noting that I would like to support the amendment that Councillor Wright has put up. Not only would a new footpath on that Sheraton Road would be used by school children, I note that the basketball courts and the other area up there is used at night. Kids travelling, walking to and from playing basketball in the evenings, and having a footpath would be far safer for them, especially in night when cars might not see them. So I would absolutely 100+% support such a motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Any other speakers in relation to the amendment? No. Councillor Wright, you do have a right of reply to... Oh, sorry, did Councillor Mann have his hand up? No. Sorry, Councillor Mann, did you have your hand up there?
Yeah, I did. I put my mic back on. Sorry.
Sorry, I missed that.
I just endorse the change. I think we've had that bottom end of the town opened up through that road. It's only logical that we try and get the pedestrian access as part of that. And yes, it's something we'd love to get it all properly done to start with. But if we can get the safety of the pedestrians looked after, it's a great move. I support it.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. So any other discussion or debate on the amendment? Councillor Wright, you do have a right of Councillor Black, you have a right of reply to anything that was said in the amendment.
Oh yeah, only the amendment.
Only the amendment.
Yes, I know that it's only a temporary measure and it's not very expensive, and I'll be happy to support it because, like Councillor Wells said, there are kids who go along there after playing at Dubbo Sports World of an evening. It does get very narrow through to cutting, I have noticed, and anything that we can do there, it's not a great amount of money. It's only a little bit of money, but it's about probably going to be there for a couple of years at least, 2.5, maybe 3 years until we can get the whole road done. So it would be a good investment at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. So in relation to the amendment only, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Now, councillors, any other amendment, or you can have debate on the overall motion because that now forms part of that motion, or any other amendments? Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to bring another amendment for Christmas activation that the CEO provide a report to Council July meeting to identify operational fund that could be reallocate to fund increased level of service for Christmas activation.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Someone second that, please. Thank you, Councillor Burns. Councillor Chowdhury, you should speak to your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I'm very supportive of this notice of motion because number of businesses and committee members, they have raised their concern about the way we do Christmas activation around Dubbo, LGA, and we have a lot of tourists come, and it's not really up to market. Also, a lot of residents go to nearby other big council like Orange and Bathurst to spend a lot of money and spend the night over there to just enjoy their time during the Christmas, where we can capture this money in our region, because we can see a lot of shops in the Macquarie Street are closing down because lack of support from government. So I will urge my fellow councillor to support this activation notice of motion, so we can support our local businesses and also local families. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Other discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Goff, then Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's just a question for Councillor Chowdhury. What's the monetary value of this Christmas for activation?
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Chowdhury, you should answer that.
Because that's why my notice of motion would be CEO to provide that monetary value, and the finding a fund that can be help this activation.
So, to you, Mr CEO.
So in discussions with Councillor Chowdhury and, as you may recall, councillors, what we've put forward is around between $25,000, $35,000 extra to the program, but we can't have you adopt something and say just pull it from somewhere else. So that's why we would need a report to come back and say where we can reallocate some. It's relatively small, but that may stop a program or a proportion of a program. That's why we need to bring a report back to identify that and put that decision in front of you.
Does that answer the question, Councillor Goff? Anything further from you, Councillor Goff? Yeah. Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, happy to support this one from Councillor Chowdhury. Look, no doubt Council has some financial pressures to contend with, and again, to find another $25,000 for a project can be difficult, so reallocation of of funds is something I guess that we'll have to come to terms with. I noticed in the past that there's been flags along the CBD, and I've often found that they're community members with their faces on those flags, and which I think is fantastic to have the community involved in Christmas and create that bit of atmosphere in our CBD. A question then, maybe through to the CEO, would there be an opportunity to approach business maybe to maybe sponsor a flag or a number of flags to create that additional revenue, and they then own a piece of that Christmas in the CBD and can contribute financially to that, which obviously has some community benefit too?
I'll take that question through to the CEO, to Ms Kumar.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, Council in operating the flag program throughout the year does partner in other seasons, I suppose, but the Christmas period has always been one that's been funded from the Smiles Christmas program, with the view that we would, as you mentioned, highlighted community members. I suppose we have been reluctant to engage in corporate sponsors for that particular festive promotion, but certainly something that could be explored because it is an expensive exercise.
Thank you, Ms Kumar. Anything further, Councillor Wright, from that?
No, thank you.
Other comments, questions, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was perhaps some advice, and you'll pull me up if I'm out of order. But I don't want to propose a motion to amend the budget as such, but I do just want to draw attention to some of the issues that went into that budget, and in particular, I think about the 120-page submission that the Wellington Community Progress and Action Group made.
Remember, we are talking just about the amendment specifically at the moment. So if it relates to the amendment, this is the amendment
to the budget.
This is the amendment that Councillor Chowdhury has put forward around Christmas activation. So we're only debating that at the moment. You can continue on if you want, if it relates specifically to that amendment.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
But it relates to the budget generally.
Right.
So you might tell me when it's appropriate to...
I would probably hold till we move through any other amendments that we have and then talk about the budget overall.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Other discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Chowdhury, you have a right of reply if you wish to exercise that.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you. Councillors have that before us, that amendment. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Now, other amendments that any councillors might have? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've just got an amendment here that we put $100,000 extra into the street tree planting budget and $270,000 extra into the mowing of highway entrances budget.
Certainly, I'll just get something clarified there, Ms CEO.
So just to be clear, we've got in the draft budget there was $370,000 allocated to entrances to the urban areas of Dubbo and Wellington. Just to get it clear for the record, you're recommending 100, moving that $100,000 gets allocated to street trees and remaining 270 for the city entrances.
Yes, thank you, Mr CEO. Just to clarify that. So from that $370,000 for highway mowing to the entrances, that $100,000 of that $370,000 gets redirected to, was it the tree planting or street tree planting? Or does that tree planting cover both?
Street tree planting program.
Planting budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Have someone second that, please. Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Black, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No, it's fairly self-explanatory, really. We know that there's a need to plant more trees for, just cooling as the climate warms up, but also just to replace the trees that die or get taken out around town or get run into by a car or something like that you see, or die in front of people's houses mysteriously. It'll be good to see some of those replaced, and some of this money will go towards that throughout the LGA. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Discussion or debate, councillors. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to support this notice of motion because Dubbo is getting hotter and hotter, and we've seen residents come to our public place, and they're always asking for canopy increase. So I'm gonna support this notice of motion to just not for now, not only for now, it's for the future generation. So we should look after our canopy. We should look after the tree, and it's for the future generation too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Black, you should write a reply to your... No. Thank you. Okay, councillors, we have that amendment before us. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. So that now adds to our motion as it stands. Any other amendments? Councillor Black, did you have another one?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I ask a question before I move the amendment, or do I have to move the amendment first?
No, you can ask a question.
Through you, Mr Mayor. To do with the Macquarie Regional Library $35,000 budget allocation for rebranding, is it possible, from my reading of this email, that that doesn't get used for rebranding but instead gets put into the workings of Macquarie Regional Library? Thank you.
I'll take that question through CEO to Mr Arms.
Through you, Mr Mayor, thank you. So yeah, the 35,000 has been in the delivery plan for the last number of years, since 21, remains there for the coming financial year. Activating that will be dependent on the outcomes of the service review, which is being finalised as we speak, and the councillors will be seeing that in due course. If that doesn't go ahead and the rebranding does not occur, then it would then be available throughout the Macquarie Regional Library budget. So that would be a reallocation within that particular budget.
And just before I go back to you, Councillor Black,
thank you.
The CEO would like to add something to that.
So just to be clear, it's a regional library service, so it's part of a regional agreement between 3 different councils, so that's why it has to be treated differently to reallocating within Dubbo Regional Council's budget, if that makes sense.
Thank you, CEO. So, Councillor Black?
Just another point of clarification there, please. So, if we were to vote that through as it stands at the moment, depending on the delivery plan, that would then decide whether that money is spent on a rebrand. Would there be a vote on that later, depending on the delivery plan review?
Thank you, Councillor Black. And CEO, as part of Macquarie Regional Library, does the combined total of that library make decisions on that budget?
There's different breakups, and sorry, through you, Mr Mayor, and there's different breakups in the budget. So there's elements that are the regional library service that it coordinates across all 3 local government areas, and there's elements within the budget that are under the auspice of the individual member councils. That particular allocation, what the communication from the Director, Mr Arms, was alluding to is it has to stay within that regional budget for the library. So if council chose to not go ahead with branding, it would still have to stay within that regional budget because councils will build that up over time together under an agreement. A branding typically would come to council typically through a workshop for endorsement because it is a public brand. So it's not so much about a delivery plan action. It would actually come because you're the members of the board that will be helping decide on the branding, if that makes sense. So there would be an opportunity for councillors to have consideration of that project down the track.
Thank you, CEO. That clarifies things, Councillor Black, on that.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful, thank you.
So, sorry, did you have an amendment?
I won't move that amendment. On the council, I might move another one though.
Yep.
Got heaps. It's good ideas. One every minute. I looked at the Rainbow Cottage fees and the profit and loss, and I've done some little figures here, and I'd like to move an amendment that the daily fee rate for the 0 to 2 year olds is $115 a day, and the 2 to 5 year olds is $113 a day as of 1 January 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Can I have someone second that, please? Councillor Burns, thank you. Councillor Black, do you wish to speak to that?
Oh, thank you, Councillor Burns and others. Look, I've had a bit of a look there. We've talked about it, the Rainbow Cottage. It's costing council about $480,000 a year to provide that service to the community. Really, the numbers I came up with were an 8.5% increase, which is basically what inflation has been, would cover inflation. We know that we do pay our staff under the local government award, so they're paid at a proper rate, not what I've heard described as poverty wages of some other places around the country regarding childcare and long day care. We can't keep losing $480,000 a year on Rainbow Cottage. Something has to be done. It's still on the books at the moment. I think that we need to be financially responsible and say those rates there, $115 a day for 0 to 2s and $113 a day for 2 to 5s, sit pretty much within the range of similar services in Dubbo. We don't have to be the cheapest, we don't have to be the most expensive, but we do have to provide a decent return to taxpayers, which doesn't lose $480,000 on a childcare centre every year. So that's my thinking behind that. Knowing that there are a lot of subsidies, government subsidies for having your kids in childcare each day, and those subsidies would offset a lot of that increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Wells? Okay, sorry. Councillor Wright.
Just a question, either maybe Mr Black or maybe, sorry, Councillor Black, or maybe to the CEO potentially. If this motion was passed, when would it be likely that these increase of fees would take effect for the parents of the children?
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I'll go through to the CEO for that.
1st of January, the calendar year, is when the Rainbow Cottage childcare fees apply. So there's plenty of notice for changes of this nature.
That answers that, Councillor Wright. Councillor Mann, sorry, before I go to Councillor Mann, Councillor Wright, anything else on that? It was just that question. Oh, yeah, thank you. Councillor Mann.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a question on the service review on the childcare centre. What's the status there?
Through you, Mr CEO, to... You take that one? Okay.
That is not at our priority service reviews at the moment, Councillor Mann. So we have other, I guess, more high impact services that we're reviewing at the moment. It is on the longer term plan. Like, we want to review every service that we provide to make sure we're doing the right thing. So it would be within your term, is my recollection, but certainly we're not undertaking it at this point in time.
That covers that, Councillor Mann.
Yep.
Right.
Thanks.
Anything further? No. Okay, sorry. Other questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm happy to support the motion of Councillor Black. I too am looking at that long-term financial viability of council, and to carry a particular business unit to the tune of close to $500,000 a year. It's a massive burden, and I know this is a great service to community that council provides, and but certainly to help it carry its weight a little bit more and not be a burden to other ratepayers is probably just as important. So, and on that basis, yeah, happy to support.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Further discussion or debate, councillors? No. Right of reply, Councillor Black.
Oh, thank you. Just very quickly, I need to clarify that where I read out the daily rates for the full day rates, that 8.5% would also apply to the half-day share and the half-day casual child, the three rating categories. I should have skipped that at the start, but it's just flat 8.5% on the three rating categories. Pretty much said everything on that. Is that legal?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I was just making sure that the motion that you moved covered that, and I'll just double check that to make sure it does. Okay.
So, Councillor Black, just for clarity, so we talked about just that fee for, you mentioned a cash amount, $115. I know you then explained it was a percentage. Would you prefer to, if you just described an 8.5% for full day and half day fees, just to make it cleaner, and then you don't have to worry about doing the quick maths, or indeed we do?
Yes, thanks.
Well, I've got to, I'm sorry, but I can't accept a change now at the end of the debate, because that might change the debate. So I would actually reopen that to debate again, given the fact that I doubt it, but it might change opinion somewhere. Sure. If you want to clarify that now, Councillor Black, then I'll open up for debate again. We were at the stage of right of reply. So if you want to just reread your new motion.
Can I read it for?
Sorry, you want the CEO to say?
So if this meets the needs, Councillor Black, and then obviously other councillors as we move through it, the Rainbow Cottage daily fees. Righto, sorry, I've got some wordsmithing here and we'll be able to send it through, Susan. So that the 23-24 fees and charges in respect of Rainbow Cottage be increased by 8.5% from the 22-23 fees and charges, and the increase be applied from the 1st of January 2024 for the following fees. A, per child per day, per charge for 0 to 2 year old room and the 2 to 5 year old room. B, half day share by permanent children for the 0 to 2 year room per half day and the 2 to 5 year room per half day. We've got the words. C, half day casual child, i.e. not enrolled, for the 0 to 2 years room per half day and the 2 to 5 years room per half day. And that's that 8.5%. We've got those, we'll give it to you.
That covers, you're happy with that, Councillor Black?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Right, so I'll go back and just start that again on this amendment. So you've moved that, Councillor Black, you've spoken to it. The seconder, Councillor Etheridge, is happy with that change. Councillor Etheridge? Yes, Councillor Etheridge? Yes. It was Councillor Burns, sorry, my apologies. Yes, Councillor Burns, you're happy with that change? Okay, so discussion or debate again, councillors, on that. Again, I don't think there'll be any change there, but just to make sure that we're clinically clean in the way we do things. Any discussion or debate on the 8.5%? Okay, so now Councillor Black, sorry, Councillor Chowdhury?
Sorry, I'm gonna not supporting this notice of motion because like a committee like at this moment is struggling a lot of money, like a burden, and with this time frame, and we are proposing increasing this like a fees and charge. I'm gonna vote against this notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? No, Councillor Black, you now have a right of reply.
No, only to apologise that I forgot that I'd been sent that email with the full wording, and I forgot that there was 3 different categories of where you put your kid into. Well, it's really 6, but basically what I said before, we can't just keep bleeding money at the rate we are on this facility, and it just brings it up to really the market rate at that percentage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. So we have the amendment on the childcare only at the moment. So all those in favour of the amendment? Against? Declare that carried. Okay, councillors, so that amendment now becomes part of the motion. Do we have any other amendments or additions to the budget as it stands? So we've now got, sorry, Councillor Ivey, you want an amendment or you want to speak to this now? Well,
perhaps I want some advice as to one of the issues I'd like to speak to to Mr. Parker's issue of the Canine Club. Not to make an amendment to the budget, but I'd like to speak on that very issue. But I don't know, again, when it's appropriate to do that.
Almost. So give me 1 second. I'll just make sure everyone's comfortable where we're at, and then we'll go back and discuss the entire motion. So with those amendments now, they will become additions to the current motion that's just in our papers. It doesn't mean you can't have any amendments going forward. You can still do that if you like. But now I would suggest that is the time to debate the entire budget, including those amendments that we've made or anything that are in the budget. You might want to have comments on them, for example, or discussion, but this will be then discussion about the overall motion, about the overall items, the 10 items that are listed in our business papers, plus those amendments we've just added on. So, Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, just perhaps I could just two quick issues. One, in relation to the Arana Canine Training Club. I hear Mr. Parker's and Mr. McLaughlin's comments and agree with them. I think it is a fantastic service that's offered to the community. It helps the community. It helps the Dubbo Regional Council in the terms of perhaps it cuts down on the requirement for ranger activities. But I don't agree with the request that in actual fact not-for-profits not be charged for services. I think it's fair that they do be charged for services, but like we do for lots of other community organisation, subject to receiving the appropriate application, we can provide money back that offsets that charge. And I just think that's a much more appropriate way to do it. I presume there's no way that we can do that now, because I think they said the next events are in August and October. There won't be time to get that application in and get a decision on it. But perhaps I might just say to the Canine Club, can you just wear that cost for this year and just, again, work with council to make the appropriate application to get some funding to offset the charges that are made. I think it makes good accounting practice for council to charge for the use of the service, but then if it's considered appropriate, to make a appropriate donation back to the club or a support back to the club that offsets that. It gets the accounting done correctly. Mr. Mayor, can I just go on to another point, or should I stop at that point?
You've got one chance, Councillor Ivey,
Right.
so everything you want to bring up, this is your one chance.
Well, can I again just keep going then in relation to the budget that's been put forward, and I refer particularly to, as I say, the 120 odd page submission made in respect of the budget by the Wellington Community Progress Action Group, and also by another resident, Rosalie Whiteley, where I thought that some very, very good points were raised. I don't see that they are necessary need to change the budget or amend the budget, but what I do take out of it is that, again, a comment made in relation to the budget that an operational plan will be tasked to council, the council staff will be tasked to develop an operational plan task that will analyse the current challenges and opportunities for the Wellington CBD heritage revitalisation as part of the Economic Development Services Action Plan. And I'd love to see that plan be really developed well, professionally, and really form a basis for planning the development for the revitalisation of the Wellington CBD, not just for next year, for the 23-24 year or the 24-25 year, but for the next, perhaps going on for 5 or 10 years. And I really think that clause that's in the discussion about the budget is so very, very important, and I'd just like to bring it to council's attention and the staff's attention to say, yes, please do that and make it as professional and as comprehensive as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Further discussion or debate? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of comments as well. there was a number of submissions from community with respect to the budget, and I just wanted to bring to light the fact that those submissions do matter, because if we flick through, I think it's about page 65, there were 67 submissions that come through, and page 65 indicates that there were actually 12 proposed or specific changes to the delivery budget or fees and charges as a result of those 60-odd submissions. So they don't go to a blind email. They certainly go to a staff that do read those, take them on board, and certainly councillors. We've had the opportunity to go through every single one of them. They're all in the business paper, and there's some fantastic ones in there. So thank you to the community for contributing towards the budget as it is. Just want to reiterate some of Councillor Ivy's words. There were some excellent submissions from Wellington, actually, and as you said, the Wellington Community Progress Action Committee, Mrs Whiteley, and also Miss Emily Holmes as well, all had some fantastic submissions. And whilst this budget may not address a lot of the big sky ideas that each of those people have got, I hope as we move forward with discussions with a lot of the renewable energy zone proponents and some of these voluntary planning agreements that are in negotiations and hopefully coming to fruition, that we'll see some funds be able to roll through to Dubbo Regional Council, which can funnel into that Wellington area, especially for Wellington itself and the villages surrounding, and we can see some real benefit come out of that. So whilst there might not be the funds to cover some of those big sky ideas, I'm really optimistic that they may not be too far in the near distant future for those communities. So well done to all who contributed, and thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Further discussion or debate on the budget, councillors? No further items to be discussed? Nothing else? No further debate, councillors? Okay, Councillor Black, you have a right of reply as the original mover.
Only very quickly, thank you, Mr Mayor. Basically, some people love the budget, some people won't, but we're doing what we can with the amount of money we got, which is going down all the time due to inflation and increasing costs, and it is quite difficult. There's always room for improvement, but I think we're trying to do as good as we can do with what we got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. So we have the original motion with the amendments discussed and debated. I'll ask now, all those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Okay, next item is CCL 23/158, the making of rates and charges. Have someone move that way, please. Thank you, Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Goff. Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak to that?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, it's obviously it's always a challenging one with respect to adjusting of rates. I know that there are households under pressure, and there's certainly a council under pressure, like a lot of other businesses and households. This is a big household as well that's carrying a pretty big budget and has some pretty large financial responsibilities to the community. I note in that previous motion that was passed that council will go out and have some discussions with community about special rates variations. I think it's important we call that out and put that on the table for community discussion. There will be a lot of work that will go into that before any form of special rates variation hits the table. So again, calling for community to help us formulate something which they might see as fair for both council to run a business that provides an acceptable level of service to community, but also one that the council sees fair as well. The community sees fair for them as well. So, but yeah, look, I'm happy to pass this one, and hopefully there's some support there too. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 23/159, the 2023 Dream Festival Lantern Parade. Have someone move that way, please. Thank you, Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Wells. Councillor Black, you wish to speak to that?
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor. Only to say that the Dream Festival Lantern Parade is one of the highlights of the year from a cultural perspective for myself around town, and I know that kids really love going there, and you see the pictures on Facebook and whatever, and it's a really good community atmosphere and feel, so that should be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 23/160, the Draft Development Control Plan, Northwest Urban Release. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Black. Seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Black, do you wish to speak to that?
Only very quickly. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, this, I really encourage people to have a look at the plan and have a say on it. It's going out for discussion, should that get passed, for comment by the community, and all those interested, I look forward to their submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Other discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Just a comment, perhaps as much as anything, that should the lobbying, the state government be successful and if they did indeed adopt Bungle Gumby Road as a preferred site, then I presume that would actually change the nature of this proposed development. And I think that, well, I think that would be a mistake and a pity, but I just make that as a comment.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Other questions or debate, councillors? No. Councillor Black, do you wish to have a right of reply to Councillor Ivey's comment?
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Ivey, I hope that you're going to lobby the Health Minister extensively so that we can find an alternative site other than possibly the Bungle Gumby Road one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. We have that before us, councillors. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 23/161, Draft South Lakes Estate Development Control Plan. Have someone move that way, please. Thank you, Councillor Wells. Did I see? Yep, Councillor Wells. And seconded by Councillor Wright. Councillor Chowdhury. Before we go to Councillor Wells, Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This particular matter, CCL 23/161, I declare pecuniary and significant interest as I live in South Lakes, and I'll leave the room during the comment. Yeah,
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Okay, Councillor Wells, do you wish to speak to that motion?
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, thank you. Just really wanted to say it's great that we're continuing and pushing through with development plans, and South Lakes is obviously one of the really preferred locations of late in the Dubbo city. So just wanted to say it's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Could I please have someone bring back Councillor Chowdhury, please? Michael. Thank you. You've lost him?
Mandy, could you turn the light on in there as well? Yeah, it's on the right. It's on the far wall as you walk in on your right. Oh, not this one. Isn't it there?
Can we please ensure we don't leave our public gallery in the dark? There we go. Hello. One job, Michael. One job. You go and retrieve a councillor. Okay, thank you. We've got our councillors back. Next item is CCL 23/162, development application for industrial building and cafe at by the Drayton Group. Can I someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Mann.
Yes, just repeating, I declare a conflict of interest on CCL 23/162, which is non-pecuniary and less than significant. I operate a business business and own some property in the Blue Ridge Estate, which is where this DA is being proposed for. I'll be in the room.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Now, discussion or debate on 23/162. Sorry, my apologies, Councillor Chowdhury. You're right of speaking to the motion.
No, all good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Now, any other discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Again, just a motion in support, a comment in support of this motion. I presume it's only coming to us because it's of value greater than $5 million, which is the CEO's delegated authority. Ordinarily, it would have been gone straight through to him. But it's good that it did come to council. I found it very interesting. I mean, it's just terrific to see that sort of development going on. I, in fact, put on my Google Maps where Fiscal Way was, and Google Maps didn't even recognise it, you know, because when I looked at it, of course, it's off to the eastern side of that Blue Ridge Estate, and it just shows the development that's going on there. And when someone wants to put in some units, some industrial units and a cafe, they've obviously got a lot of confidence in what's happening there, and I think that's just fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to note verbally that Councillor Burns obviously just had to leave briefly. So we'll continue on. We've still got a quorum at council. Okay, any other discussion or debate on this particular item, councillors? No. Councillor Chowdhury, you do have a right of reply if you wish to exercise it.
All good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now, I'll put that, councillors. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. And again, I will just note that Councillor Burns wasn't in the room for that particular vote. I will just check something. Okay, the next item, councillors, is CCL 23/163, open space maintenance deed between Dubbo Regional Council and Mars Group Properties, South Lakes. Have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Wells, and seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also declare my pecuniary and significant interest because I reside in South Lake, and I'll leave this room during the during this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you please do me a favour and not play hide and seek this time for Michael when he goes out to collect you? Okay, councillors, we have CCL 23/163 in front of us. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. A question, actually. I notice on page 963 of the many pages of this particular meeting's agenda, there's a comment in there that suggests that the proponent has completed the landscaping component, although a playground with supporting facilities is still to be installed at an appropriate location. And discussions are continuing with the proponent to satisfy this condition. I just find that they found that comment interesting because I note that there was a community submission as part of the budget which made reference to the fact that a playground in South Lakes was expected to be constructed and had been deferred a number of occasions, and then that community member had encouraged council to come forward and complete that particular project. Maybe council might be able to shed a bit of light, or maybe one of the directors sheds a bit of light on some estimated timeframes to have that playground at South Lakes completed that's referenced in that particular report.
I'll go through the CEO to Mr.
We'll go straight to Mr. McAllister.
Mr. McAllister.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the original playground that was which was identified to be constructed at South Lakes was in the council budget. That playground was deferred to allow the installation of the playground fence and additional elements at Victoria Park. The developer does have a requirement to install a playground, and I have actually met with the developer. The proposed playground site is at the intersection of Stream and Argyle Avenue. I don't have a time frame in regards to when that playground will be installed at this point.
Thank you. And sorry, before I go back to that, I'll just note that Councillor Burns is back with us now. So Councillor Wright, further from that?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. That's fine. Not quite the answer I was looking for, but at a time in the future is fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Black.
Thank you. Only to note that I think it's important that once these agreements end, that we put on more outdoor staff to maintain all these median strips and beautified areas, including up around Blue Ridge and etc. Because I do note around town that I don't blame the workers at all. They're doing what they can with their staffing allocation, but once we take over all these areas of subdivisions around the place, we really do need to appropriately staff that. I think we might need to get a few more Parks and Gardens employees out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Further discussion or debate, councillors? No, there being none. Councillor Wells, would you like to exercise your right of reply?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you, councillors. Have that before us at the moment. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Now, Michael, could you try again, please? See if you have more success this time. CCL 23/164, plan of easements for overhead power lines. Can I have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 23/165, question on notice from Councillor Pam Wells. Councillor Wells, do you wish to move that? Moved, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wells, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just briefly, thank you for my thanks to the staff and to CEO for gathering this information, and hope that we'll be able to get the necessary information going forward for the July. Whoops. For the July meeting. That'll do for now, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Any discussion or debate on this, councillors? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Actually, I quite enjoy these questions on notice. I think they provide some really great information, and I think this provides some really detailed information as well for community members trying to get their head around the conversation of that we've had a little earlier in our past motion of the drug and rehabilitation facility. So, yeah, I enjoyed reading that. I think it gave a really thorough detail of the progress of this particular item over the last couple of years. So, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wright. Anything further, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, I'd just like to, again, endorse those comments about how useful it was. And I think it's just good to get that information on the table, because I'm sure that everyone wants the best outcome. And I think putting out information like that perhaps helps debunk a few of the myths or a few of the misinformation that's out there, and that perhaps we should probably even use this resource more than we do. I think it's really a great way to get information before the councillors so that we can really make better decisions and more informed decisions, but also a way of instructing the public about what the current situation or the history that's led to a particular situation now. And I think it's very useful, and yeah, let's try to do that more, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Ivey. Other comments or debate, councillors? Councillor Wells, do you wish a right of reply to anything that was said in the debate?
Just agreeing with my colleagues that I think questions on notice, I think this is a question, are really helpful, and hopefully we'll see more of these to engage more conversation and information prior to motions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. That's the end of the items there. We've got comments and matters of urgency left, so I'll go around the room from the left, and I sometimes forget about people on video, so I'll start with Councillor Mahon this week, or this month. Councillor Mahon.
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mahon. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of events I went to in the past month. I just want to say a big congratulations to the state state rugby championships, under 14 boys and girls. And Jason Blake and his team from the Dubbo Roos did a really fantastic job facilitating that with the help of council staff. It was a really positive vibe. I think everyone did really well. Watching the junior Roos cleaning up the fields after every day. I was there for the whole 3 days, and everyone was just loving the facility. Everyone was just loving staying in Dubbo. Monday was a bit, how are you going for weather? But I sold my coffee. But everyone was just really, really positive, and the influx of people that came into the town. So I heard 7,000 people came into the town for the long weekend. So just the boost to the economy would have been fantastic. So well done to Jason Blake and his team. And then recently on Monday, the Mayor, Councillor Ivey and I went to our biggest morning tea held by the Wellington Senior Citizens Club. Lorraine Forrest and her team of organisers did a really cute little job. They were adorable, and they raised $810, and she just was so fantastic. She was over the moon with that amount. The Mayor did some poetry, and I even whipped out a couple of tunes on the untuned piano. So it was fantastic. But so well done to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Actually, I'd probably say you haven't had a lot to report, but probably the highlight of my month has probably been the little outing with a couple of the councillors this morning to Old Dubbo Jail, actually. We there a little bit early this morning, and I think it was colder when we left at 8:30 than it was at 7:30, but nevertheless had the opportunity to speak to Jodie Benton from Ozark, who has been tasked with the job of sifting through the rubble, if you like, out the front of the Old Dubbo Jail there, where I'm sure plenty of people have seen a fence with some privacy screen around it, and obviously they've spent a bit of time there the last few weeks, and they've come across some pretty interesting footings of some early or mid 1800s courthouse, and a number of different things there, which I'm sure Council will report on in social media over the coming weeks. But look, I found it an extremely interesting visit this morning. I'm hoping over the next couple of weeks that progress, we'll see more progress on that particular project, and I know a number of people have been curious about what's happening, and they're also curious about when that particular project's going to be complete. So hopefully we'll be able to peel the fence back sometime over the next few weeks, and people can see the actual finished product there. So, but yeah, very interesting morning, and keep your eyes out on social media. There'll be some videos and photos and everything I'm sure that the comms team will put out for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Etheridge.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to direct this to Luke. Have you seen Erskine Street lately between the Macquarie Street lights and the Darling Street roundabout?
So, Councillor Etheridge.
Am I allowed to do that or not?
So this section is comments and matters of urgency. So you can make any comments, and you can comment about that, but you would only have something.
Oh, so I can just make a comment?
You can make a comment about that, or if it was something that you needed to do urgently, you could ask for an urgent motion in relation to that. But this section is not designed for questions to staff. But feel free to make a comment about that,
Okay.
but you can't ask one of the staff members questions.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to make a comment that the road is atrocious. It's failed terribly and needs some serious attention, like many of our town roads. They're all failing. Some of them are just in terrible state. But Erskine Street has failed really badly and really needs some serious attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Black.
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of quick things to note. Last weekend was Vic Avila. I'd like to just compliment Vic Avila and the Filipino community. I've known Vic for many, many years. We used to work together at the abattoirs, going back a long way into the mid-90s. There was the 125th anniversary of Philippine Independence Day. That was a great event, and like I said, congratulations to Vic and his committee and the Filipino community. Had a busy couple of weeks. There's been a lot of state government ministers to town, and I've had the opportunity to, I mentioned before how I spoke to Jenny Aitchison about the rail between Rylstone and Golgong. I also mentioned about how we need extra money for roads in our LGA. We had Jodie Harrison, the Minister for the Prevention of Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, announcing some refuges and accommodation in Dubbo and surrounds, and we've had a whole heap more. Tara Moriarty, Courtney Housos was even in town. Minister for Natural Resources had a chance to speak there about various opportunities we have in this LGA, and Penny Sharp, Environment, Heritage, Climate Change and Energy. So that's great to see that ministers are here and we get access to them. Also, the Boxar crime statistics came out a week ago, or thereabouts. It's very interesting to note, there's a few categories. I could bore everyone to death with statistics, but looking at the 2830 table there from March 22 to March 23, breaking into dwellings was 407 up to 455. That's 11.8% up. Theft is a broad category in this LGA, or 2830 postcode, sorry, plus 19%. Break and enter non-dwellings, plus 79%. And steal from motor vehicle, plus 27%. But it really does speak to a trend throughout this LGA. This is back to the LGA now, is it? No, it's not. It's 2830. The rate per 100,000 of population. When I looked down that and did my statistics, I see that just assault is a broad category, 2.6 times the state average. And every single category were multiple times above the state average. Malicious damage to property, 3 times. Robbery with a weapon, not a firearm, 3.2 times the state average. Sexual assault, 1.4 times. It's just pretty much every category. Theft is a broad category, 2.8 times. Break and enter dwelling, 4.3 times the state average. Break and enter non-dwelling, 5.9 times. Motor vehicle theft, 3.6 times, and so on. Steal from retail store was interesting, 2.5 times, and a bit of a spike there. So we really do need to do something, and I had paused to note that Gunnedah Shire Council is hosting a Gunnedah Crime Prevention Summit conference for 2 days in November this year. So I looked down the list of people who are going. There's a police minister and there's a whole Grace Tame, you name it, they're going. Even the City of Logan has been invited along. They're going to be presenting Just Reinvest New South Wales from up the north of this state, looking at youth justice, justice reinvestment, Indigenous overrepresentation in the justice system, family, domestic and sexual violence, mental health, rural crime, hate crime, cyber crime, housing, homelessness, mental health. There's a whole stack of things there, but it's very interesting to see that Gunnedah Shire Council is saying we need to do something in our community. We're not just going to do brand management and say, oh, we just sort of hope it goes away quietly. You can anyone can go. It's about $980 a ticket or something like that, I noticed. But I might give it a miss because it's a bit expensive, trying to save funds and things like that. But I will certainly be talking to people who are there later to get a bit of an update on how it went and what they found and things that we can bring back to Dubbo to try and reduce our crime rates, which I've just read out, way above the state average and persistently above the state average. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A couple of things. One, I just wanted to urge the community to be really safe in their driving methods. Last couple of days have been, probably not today, but last couple of days have been really icy conditions. And I myself, like many others, go outside, throw a bucket of water over your car to get on the road. And it's pretty cold, but it's just, I want to warn people about the potential ice and the driving conditions. If it gets any colder and those conditions continue, just be safe on the roads. Number two, on the 2nd of July to the 9th of July is NAIDOC Week, and just want to encourage the community to attend anything that's going to be on. There should be a stream of events throughout the whole week. Council will do its general piece in terms of the flag raising ceremony. So I just want to encourage community to participate and be a part of such a culturally strong week. And on the 6th of July, we're also moving forward to it. There's not a lot of detail around this just yet, but internally we'll hopefully have a workshop around the referendum and the voice in terms of how do we continue to educate the community or provide information to the community so that when they do go to the polls, they're making an informed decision. And I can't reiterate that enough, that we want people to know what they're voting for when they turn up on polls that day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Shattery.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've had a very busy couple of weeks, but I'd like to highlight it on the couple of event I went to. Mr. Mayor and I went to open last Saturday a new shop, two new shop actually, Lilabel and The Loft, hairdressing in the Hortony Street, and it was great to see like a small businesses are growing and they're expanding in our region. So I expect a bit more small business come in and invest in our region. And another one is Vika Villa, I went with a few other councillor and mayor, deputy mayor to attend that Philippines 125 5th Independence Day celebration, and actually their Independence Day was on 12th of June, but they celebrated on the weekend, and it's great to see like they're celebrating throughout the Australia month long, and also their vice consular general came in Dubbo, and I also attended with a dinner with Mr. Mayor and myself, and witnessed a great dance from the mayor and the vice chancellor. I didn't aware of that, like our mayor could dance it that good. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to talk about a site visit we did a few weeks back when we went up to Wheelers Lane to have a look at the work they're doing on the roads. And I came in there a bit confused, but I was really impressed with the work that they're doing. And I just wanted to mention to people that are concerned about how it's going to come out, all they have to do is go and take a drive down Ploughman's Lane, because the same crew did the same job on Ploughman's Lane. And Ploughman's Lane's absolutely beautiful, if you ask me. So I'm confident in what they're doing up there. I know there's been a lot of people saying, what are they doing? But a lot of people question things halfway through and they don't understand stuff. So it's going to be, I believe it's going to be really good to see the improvements on Wheelers Lane once it's done. I've got a full confidence in the work they're doing up there. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some good things and bad things. We start with the bad things, was with the closure of the announced closure of the NAB in Wellington. A great pity, probably, perhaps, inevitable, but nonetheless a very, very significant event. The Mayor has written a letter to the CEO expressing the Council's dismay. I was interviewed on local television, and obviously so the message got out, but it is just a pity. The building itself, I don't know if anyone's noticed, has recently been extensively renovated by a new owner who, and I'm told, I don't know anecdotally, that about a month ago the bank signed a new 3-year lease. I don't know whether that's right, but I'm told that that's what happened, and yet the bank, NAB, has chosen to close it. So a great pity. On a more positive note, I had the pleasure of deputising for the Mayor, I think. I don't know why, whether he's away or whether he doesn't drink whiskey, but in fact I went to the launch of the Dubbo Winter Whisky Festival at the establishment, and it was fantastic. I went in there and I didn't know quite what to do, but Crafty, who gave the talk, said, look, the thing about whiskey is that it encourages social interaction. So anyway, I went down and I sat with a group of people who I'd never met before, and by the end of the evening I can tell you we were the best friends. So that was terrific. The other thing, I again deputised for the Mayor, and with the Director for Infrastructure had a 1-hour meeting with Minister Atchison on local government, and for the Roads Minister, I found that very good. It was just an hour. I don't think there was a single moment of silence. There was discussion and constructive. A few of the things that came out of it I perhaps wasn't too keen about. I know there was some discussion about the problems or the issues about River Street Bridge. They seem to be glossed over a little bit. One of the comments that was made again by, I think, someone from Transport New South Wales, who was Damien, I think, who was there, about the long-range planning for a bypass around Dubbo, and the comment was, well, we're not really too keen on that because we actually want the trucks to come into Dubbo because it wants to be set up as a service area. And I thought, oh, I don't know whether that's really a long-term plan, whether it'd be a good thing. We talked about other issues, which the overtaking lanes between Wellington and Dubbo, the general need for better upgrading of the infrastructure and roads in this whole area because of the res. And I thought the Minister was quite engaged. She certainly listened. And she certainly said, well, look, that was a very useful meeting, and that would certainly form a good foundation for any future work and relationship that this council would have with her and her department. So again, as Councillor Black said, I think there certainly seems to be a move from the state government to engage with regional communities, and I think that can be really that can be applauded. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Just a few quick ones. Have you done Councillor Mann? Yeah, I've done Councillor Mann. Yes, thank you, Mr. CEO. I started with Councillor Mann. Yeah, one item I think was very significant during last month was the signing of the first ever partnership agreement between the WAP, the Wellington Aboriginal Action Panel, and DRC, and this is on the back of the Dubbo Aboriginal Working Party that's had an agreement for many years, and so the Wellington Aboriginal Action Panel also wanted to have that sort of agreement in place, so I think that was a very significant event. We went down to Wellington, signed that, had a cake, so you know it's significant when there's a cake there, but I think having that partnership agreement in place and having the rules of engagement in place is very important. I also just want to mention the Philippine Independence Day. It's great to see various cultures that we get exposed to in Dubbo, whether it's a Holy Mela festival down on the riverbank or whether it's the Philippine Independence Day. All very interesting. I did actually ask Councillor Sherry to destroy any videos he had of me attempting to do the Tinakling dance, I think it's called, which is the bamboo sticks guaranteed to break ankles if you're not watching very closely. But again, it's just different culture, different events. You learn about different things around the world. The Archibald is on display at the moment till the end of July. All but one of the finalists from 2022 are on display at our Cultural Centre, and the visitation has been going very well. The visitation through the Western Plains Cultural Centre is going very well with that. But it is significant that we get something like the full Archibald finalists here in Dubbo. I think that's fantastic for regional areas, and that certainly draws people in from around the region. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. Just to comment further on Councillor Wright's point about Old Dubbo Jail, this morning people are asking about the front area of Old Dubbo Jail, and so that was the opportunity this morning to look at where that's up to, and again went through and talked to our consultant there. I would love to give a time frame to the public as to where that's up to and when we'll be able to continue down that path. At the moment, we're still waiting for the final report from our consultant, which will then go off to Heritage New South Wales, which will then come back and approve some form of treatment, and then finally we'll be able to start progressing with that, because I think that will be a fantastic area at the front, but we need to get that finished off in terms of the process, in terms of what's been uncovered there, and it is quite significant what's been uncovered and quite fascinating listening to that. The other one I want to mention was Keswick, and there's been some commentary around the delay in Keswick and the delay in sales around Keswick, and at the moment we are still waiting for those blocks of land to get to the point where they're registered, so they actually can be bought to the point where people can actually start building on them. They are for sale at the moment, people are putting deposits on there, but they're not actually able to be built on at the moment, so there have been some delays in the construction process there. So some people have been concerned about the processes occurring there from a council perspective, but again, we're waiting on some of those components to be finished off, but we're hopeful that's not too far away. I'm talking months rather than 6 months, so maybe in the next 3 months we'll have the point where they're able to be registered blocks and people will be able to start building on them, because again, we have a housing shortage. We want people to be able to they're moving here, have somewhere to live, and housing is obviously an important part of that. And I also just lastly want to congratulate the police on the excellent work they've done in the last 3 months from a crime perspective. I've got some data from Boxar, and the data is a rolling 12-month change, so effectively what's happened over the 3 months in the first 3 months of this year, because Boxar data always seems to be a bit frustratingly behind the time. So that data came out in the middle of June, which took us to the end of March. But just to give you an idea of a few different stats, which I think are significant, if you look at, for example, breaking out a dwelling across the state, that went up by 1.2%, but in Dubbo Regional Council area, that went down by 6.5%. If you look at something like domestic violence-related assault. That went up by 1.8% in the state, but down by 3% in Dubbo Regional Council area. Sexual assault up by 0.6% in the state, down by 16.3% in Dubbo. The sexual touching, sexual act and other sexual offences up by 0.6% across the state, but down by 9.1% in Dubbo Regional Council. And the other one that people were talking about a lot was in relation to motor vehicle theft. Across the state, that went up by 4.6%. And in fact, the media release that was put out by the CEO of Boxar said that that was a significant component and significant change. That went up by 4.6% across the state. In Dubbo, it went up, but only by 0.3%. So I think the police have done an excellent job there. Overall, if you combine all offences across the state, they've all gone up by 2.5%. But in Dubbo, they've only gone up by 1.9%. We'd still like to see those going down, obviously, but I think the police are doing an excellent job in that. And again, that's based on that first 3 months, the rolling 12-month average, but based on those first 3 months of this year. So congratulations to the police and the great work they've been doing. So the next items on the agenda, under Section 10A of the Local Government Act, the items being CCL 23/167, 168, 169, 170 and 171 have been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of council. Can I have someone move us into confidential session to deal with the confidential items? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Seconded by Councillor Burns. We have had no applications from members of the public to make their representations regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. Do any members, or singular, does any member of the public and the public gallery have any comments to make regarding the proposal to hear the items in a closed session of council? No one from the public wants to come forward and express that. So, Councillor Etheridge, do you wish to speak on the motion? No, nothing. Any questions or debate about moving into confidential, councillors? There being none, all those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. The time being 8:22 p.m, we'll move into closed session. The streaming will now be turned off. Any members of the public will be asked to leave the chamber. The chamber will be reopened and the live stream restarted after deliberations on these matters, with the resolutions to be made public. Thank you for... The council has returned to open session at 9:09 p.m. Welcome back. I will now read the resolutions from the confidential sessions of council. CCL 23/167, the recommendation that the accounts receivable debt for the amount outstanding of $16,720 be written off. Number point 2, that the accounts receivable debt for the amount outstanding of $11,428.68 be written off. The next item considered in confidential was CCL 23/168. The recommendation was that council pursue the purchase of lot 9 and 10 DP 244001 to maximum value as outlined in this report. The council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate the terms of the purchase in accordance with the details outlined in this report. That upon acquisition, the land be classified as operational in conformity with the Local Government Act 1993. That any document relating to this matter be signed under the common seal of council. That all documentation in relation to this matter remain confidential to council. The next item, CCL 23/169. The council notes the assessment panel recommendation regarding the preferred proposal being Belgravia Leisure as per the information contained within the report. The council delegate the CEO to undertake negotiation with Belgravia Leisure to confirm costings regarding their proposal. Council then hold an extraordinary meeting at noon on the 30th of June 2023 for the purpose of determining either the operator of Dubbo ALC facilities or that DRC continues to operate the 3 aquatic centres, Dubbo, Wellington and Geary, as fully internal. That all documentation in relation to this matter be signed under common seal of council. That all documentation in relation to this matter remain confidential to council. The next item was CCL 23/170. Point 1, the council delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate an agreement with relevant parties and for the maximum amounts as outlined in the report, in the body of this report. Point 2, that any agreement successfully negotiated in accordance with resolution number 1 be executed by council under common seal. That all matters arising from this report remain confidential to council. And the last item under confidential was 23/171. The recommendation was that council proceed to acquire under the Roads Act 1993 A 394 square metres of land as specified in the body of this report from the adjoining landowners. Point B, for the amount specified in the body of this report. And point C, to accommodate telecommunications and stormwater infrastructure within the public road reserve. Point 2, that upon acquisition of the land described in resolution 1 above, such land is to be dedicated as operational land in accordance with the Local Government Act 1993. Point 3, that the Council delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the power to finalise and execute any plans and documents required to be executed for the matter to be completed. Point 4, that any documents which may not be executed by the Chief Executive Officer under delegation be executed under the Common Seal of Council. Point 5, that all documentation in relation to this matter remain confidential to Council. There are no further items for consideration of the ordinary council meeting. I declare the meeting closed, the time being 9:12 p.m. Web streaming has now been completed. Thank you for your attendance and